Where, how you do
Dave's
it?
not here, man.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. So, episode 32 of From the Ground Up. Today, our guest is going to be Ryan Sullivan from the IVORY Connection. Tell us a little bit about what you work with in your business.
Should we wait till people watch? Sorry.
We're on the download.
Okay, let's do it.
It's all good. I work with big snakes, man. The big stuff. Berms, RETICS specifically. I've had everything in my lifetime, man. But in like 2010, that's really when I kind of like focused on RETICS, Burmese pythons. Really focused on my genetics with those projects, man. And that's mostly what I work with these days. Now, I got a zoo at the house too. There's fucking chameleons and there's all sorts of shit at the house. But really, RETICS, they pay the bills these days.
So do you breed the other one, the chameleons and all that?
I've got about 36 chameleon eggs cooking right now.
Whoa.
I've got I just hatched my first short-tail python. I've got a gravid blood right now. I've got a gravid green berm at the house right now. I just had 14 eggs from a Mexican beaded lizard's laying on a breeder right now. There's a lot happening at the IVORY Connection. Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
I know when we went to your house, you talked about the Mexican bead lizard. That one's venomous, right?
Absolutely. Their toxicity is the exact same pretty much as like an H-Rox. It's venomous, absolutely.
Okay. Is the venom of a baby different than an
Not
adult?
Not at all.
Same strength.
Absolutely. Usually from a bite, if you just take a close, like a quick nip, or you're tongue feeding and you're not paying attention, and I've had like the tip of my finger nipped one time, you basically get free bleed for about an hour or two.
Okay.
It just won't coagulate or stop bleeding. Exactly.
You say that so calmly,
yeah,
they're just bleeding for an hour.
Everyone can have different responses.
For sure. This was my response to this bite.
Bill Haas, his worst bite that he ever got was from a beaded lizard.
Really, man? Oh, dude, my hand swole up a little bit and was sore for like 4 days, but like other than that, it really wasn't that bad. But that was all it was. I was hand feeding babies, and somebody yelled at me, and I started yelling back over my shoulder, and it was totally my fault. Like it was totally my fault, 100%.
The first thing someone commented is, "I'm waiting for the Shrek Ice Cube."
Awesome.
Wait, when did we switch from Ice Tea to Ice Cube?
I don't know.
Like, which one?
One was on Law and Order. And one
yes.
was
Yes. One is lighter.
Yeah, exactly.
One of them is fuck the police. One of them is the police.
That's a good thing to remember. Oh, that's funny. They want Evan back. The people liked Evan.
He's a good guy, man. He helps me out a lot at the house too.
Yeah, that's true. Wasn't he cleaning some cages?
Absolutely. I mean, y'all only gave me like 500 shout outs last week. For sure. But he comes out like almost every Friday and helps me clean cages, and I can turn him loose in a baby room, and he just like knows what to do. He goes in there and knocks it all out. It's cool, man.
It's so nice having someone that at least knows about snakes.
Today I had a good friend over, and I was cleaning stuff. He's like, "Man, you want some help?" And I was like, "Honestly, right, exactly." All of a sudden, I have to show you my routine. We're gonna spend 3 hours just trying to get you in the like spiel of things. It's really unique to have somebody that comes by and goes, "Oh yeah, I'm used to snakes. I can just go in here and do this for sure."
Right.
For sure.
So speaking of cleaning, your largest snake. How long does it take you?
I've got 18 foot, almost 200 pounds. She's a solid. Minutes. I the whole
retic on the top of a cave.
Right, exactly. Nailing bats out of the air. That's not how this works.
They seem like a very lean, athletic snake, and some of these out there,
man. And even a large female in the wild should still be arboreal. 200-pound snakes aren't flying through trees chasing monkeys. Right. They do that in the wild. 15-foot female will chase a monkey through a tree and get his ass. Like, they're definitely much more leaner in the wild than we see these guys in the captivity. And it's just because they're just banging them, trying to get them up to that breeder size, trying to get them to where they have 40, 50 clutch eggs. You know, and it seems like, too, it's backwards thinking because your leaner, hardier, muscular animals will lay those perfect 48 clutches, those 42, 44s. And you're like, man, I got all pearls. Everything's fine. If you got a big 200-pound female and she's laying an 80 pile, half of that's going to be viable. You still got the same 40 eggs. They just don't simply lay.
It's just not possible. It's really like, no matter how much you try to pump them.
One male viability is probably not going to fertilize 60, 70.
It's not enough in there.
That's true.
They can't pump enough to successfully do
that's it. That's a lot of egg to fertilize. It's really not natural though to see those girls that size, to see those girls pumping out those numbers. I've seen 108. I think was the most eggs I ever seen laid from a female from this big massive thing. But she like the 20 of them are viable. So it's kind of
like what's the
feel
point?
Like if retics would or snakes in general would be the same as females reproducing, then like female humans have a finite amount of eggs.
Yep.
So it's like if your retic female has a finite amount of eggs in her, so that means that would be better.
Rate, right.
Yeah, you could do 40 eggs for 10 years or maybe 80 eggs for 5 years or something. I would think there's a drop off.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Absolutely. But definitely leaner, more muscular animals, more in shape animals. Those animals are going to live 25, 30 years too. And that to me is my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal isn't making these worlds first. It isn't making crazy genetic combinations. It isn't making a bunch of money. My ultimate goal is to just do right by these animals, man. You know, they should live 25 to 30 years. If I can get that expectancy out of my life, out of my collection and their livelihood, that's what I'm shooting for, man. And I think everybody should strive for that, not just like trying to get stuff up to breed. You should be trying to do as best as you can by these animals.
But I feel like you do all that shit anyway because you have crazy genetics going on. And
you know, I preach this to the moon too. It's not about like starting with, you know, trying to chase a genetic or trying to chase a morph or trying to chase the next new thing. If you just work with what you like and you fucking enjoy the hobby that you're in,
the other stuff will come.
It all is going to fall
like
into place,
it's good. You start with what you like first, and then
the rest of that, your passion is what's going to sell these animals. The animals, they don't sell themselves. These genetic combos aren't where the money is at. The money is from the guy who takes care of his stuff and has a following of people that goes, man, this guy really cares about his product. He really cares about these animals. He's consistently taking care of this stuff. He's consistently putting out a quality product. That's where you start to make money, and that's where you start to make sales. I could have been making cows and purple phantoms 2 years ago, just like everybody else that was in the first run of it all or whatever the hell, but it wouldn't have meant anything because that's not where my heart is. I love this ivory stuff I work with. Everybody told me from day one, why do you want to work with ivory? You're just going to make another white snake. You know, you're going to put motley on top of that. You're just going to make another white snake. You won't know it's a motley. Well, my fucking motley ultras come out purple in the egg. When I made them in albino, they're a solid pink snake. I've hit so many world firsts now. Every single year I make a new world's first with this ivory product, and it's just because everybody told me like, you know, why invest in that? It's a bad bet. Well, sometimes you got to take that bet, man, if you want to see what's really out there.
I think also what you're doing is like saying, I want an ivory. You go to Ryan Sullivan because there's no one else who has.
Nobody's really specializing in that gene anymore.
Speaking of that,
and I think that talks to picking a side or maybe a gene that you work with, and then people are like, "You're known for this kind of animal. You're known for albino, whatever."
You know, there's all sorts of guys out there that have their own little lines, or that are known for, you know, their purple albino, or for their type of this, or the cleanliness in their tigers, and that's what you want to strive for, man. Yeah. It's not about having like the gene. Genes have variability, man. You could have the newest gene out there, and there's a brown version, and there's a bright orange version, and there's a red version. It's about cleaning that gene up and making it yours. Yeah. You know what I mean? For sure.
Yeah, that's like imagining that you have a jungle and kind of dirty, and then you pop out more jungles, and then you're like, all right, this is just what this is, and you move on with your life. Instead, we line bred them until they look like highlighted.
Right, until you get that bright animal, until you get that vibrant yellows and those vibrant, dark, deep blacks and those contrasting colors. That's what it is, line breeding. It's been forgotten across the board. I think the ball python market is probably where it's the worst. Like, people go, oh, yeah, I want to make Mojave, so I just go buy any Mojave. Well, you put 10 Mojaves next to each other, you've got that bright, vibrant gold, and you've got that ugly, dark brown. Like, there's a gradient.
There was a time in the ball python market where it didn't matter because all you wanted was the
just to chase the genes, just to stack more genes
in that motherfucker.
Yep, for sure. You know, I try really hard to like I'm big on the tiger stuff. There's a lot of people who don't like all the tiger stuff. Well, in the tiger stuff in the retic world, there's your classic tiger that has these dorsal patterns that are real circular, and they kind of butt up like little half moons down the dorsal, and they kind of give it a wavy look to it. I like those. That's your classic tiger. That's not how I like my tigers. I like them to connect. And on all of my tigers, if you look through my breeding stock, they have a perfect dorsal stripe all the way, where those half moons have connected now and made a dorsal stripe. This last clutch I just hatched out, I hatched out 26 tigers that all had perfect dorsal stripes.
Damn.
Like, eventually, I will have my own little line of tigers where they all have perfect dorsal stripe. Right.
And then you'll get to the point where the market realizes your snakes don't go down in price.
Exactly. That's my animal. You can go buy tigers for $150, but it's not my fucking tiger that I've line bred and worked 7 years on to get a certain cleanliness and a certain way with contrasting colors and with the pattern the way I want it to look. I put time into that, So when people come to me sometimes, and I'm under market across the board typically, but on stuff like that, I'm way over everybody's tiger market
because you know what you put into it.
I know exactly what I put into those animals to make them look that nice and to make them. I sell $250 tigers when people are trying to give them away for $150 right now. I've got a waiting list for mine.
Wow.
It's just I put the time into that gene, and now mine look better than other people's for sure.
Speaking of like having a name for yourself, someone on Facebook said, "Hey Ryan, the Texas retic man." So like clearly that's what you've become, the retic man.
Some big shoes here, man. There was a lot of us when I first got into this in like 2010. Lacey Act kind of like fucked everything up. We kind of kicked Bob out of our market some. It left it to where it was just
explain the
Lacey Act. I was about to say, I don't know what that is.
So Lacey Act, man. So we started with our Burmese pythons and all this nonsense in Florida or whatever. Basically, man, we got to really retract it. Let's go back to like Hurricane Andrew. Hurricane Andrew comes in, fucks up Florida, turns loose all these Burmese pythons all over Florida. These Burmese python breeding facilities were sending them back to like where the long and stuff, wild caught science, man. It was beneficial to the species. Well, when Hurricane Andrew came through and disposed all the order base, that caused a problem. Sure, they're in certain parts of the Everglades. They're out there, and they are, potentially eating other animals or whatever the hell it is that they're doing. But this whole like animal planet, they're in your backyard, they're going to eat your dogs and your babies and they're everything. It's a lot of sensationalism. It really is. It's all been sensationalized to crazy heights. And of course, government gets funding by super hyping up this stuff. So now they got money to spend and people can have budgets to go give out to people. So, all these hunts and all these things they're doing. In the last 3 or 4 years, like the last big hunt, I remember it was like 6 months. They sent out hundreds of hunters. There's thousands of dollars on the line. You come and bring in these animals or whatever the hell, and they found like 30 pythons.
Oh shit!
There's not this
like
massive,
that's it,
right?
But
exactly.
Then just no matter, even if it was a big problem, what they take is Florida's problem, where the only place that Burmese can live.
It's like this 2% portion of Florida. It's like this little.
It's not even like the whole state by any means.
They're like
where people don't even live really. If you're like in the Everglades in the swamps, there's something
right. When I see the videos, it's not like they're in city streets or anything going to find. Like they're out in the middle of nowhere. Where I'm like, okay, wait, what's happening? Like, why? Right, like
if you snopes all those like videos of Burmese python in a pool, it's all stuff that has been sensational. They come, they turn that stuff loose in the pool, they shoot their little Animal Planet video, and they get it out of there, man. And it really it hurt our hobby for a long time because America believed that there was this huge problem. There's these wild Burmese pythons that are taking over America, and they're going to come eat your children, and it's just not so, man. There's
so that leads to HSUS stepping in and saying, hey, we should not ship these anywhere.
Absolutely.
And then that's where you come in with the Lacey
So
Act.
that fucked you up.
You know, Burmese pythons was my heart. That was where I started. Before I had any retics, I had Burms long before all that stuff. And it really did. It put it to where, like, I had just invested all this money. I had one of the first ivories that was in like the country. I had one of the original.
How'd you get that, Ryan?
Tom Regan was a good friend of mine. Is a good friend of mine. He kind of let me in the doorway with the Burms. He was a great help to teach me about genetics and stuff like that as well. Tom Regan, great guy out there. Tom Regan Reptiles, pretty much only produces Burmese pythons. Hell yeah.
I thought those beers were like in the fridge. I was gonna have to somehow
go find one. Yeah. Hell yeah.
You're welcome.
But, you know, it definitely messed up things. And it definitely, when I got into Burms in Texas, they were everywhere. They were dime a dozen. You could buy, literally, people would have 5-gallon buckets full of albinos at shows. And for $75, you could just come in and pick one out of your bucket, you know?
What?
They were giving Burms away in like 2008, 2009.
Okay.
They were just everywhere. There was like a dozen of us in Texas that were breeding. They were very prevalent. And then this Lacey Act hit, and all these people went, I won't be able to send them out anywhere. And they all just kind of like sold out, locked up, shut the door.
They're just like, I don't even want, I'm scared. I just want to get rid of it. Yeah.
They assumed their market was going to crash before they even had a chance to see what was going to really happen with it, man. And I don't know. I loved my Burms. Even if I don't ever breed Burms again, I'm not getting rid of the stuff that's at my house.
Why?
I fucking love the granite Burms.
Hell yeah.
Is that what you posted on Instagram?
The one big snake that I would have if I had that, like, game was like, fuck.
Yeah.
If you slipped. I like how you said slipped.
Hell yeah.
If you weren't thinking about me in your head telling you not to.
I'd be like, fuck yeah, we're getting that immediately. Yeah. They're fucking amazing. So I love them.
Absolutely.
And they're not huge.
You know, and that's another snake too, where it's like, you can keep these animals manageable, man. Your very, very large Burms, those are the ones that always get upper respiratory infections.
Really?
Your fucking 18, 20 footers trapped in a 6-foot cage where it can't move around very much.
It's just affecting.
Right. It's stagnant air is kind of one of these things. Tom Regan's one of the first people I ever remember talking about it, but you're starting to hear it more and more these days. These big Burms and these URIs that they're so known for, it's all about exercise. These big, sluggish animals are sitting perfectly still, and they're just breathing this stale air in this stale cage, and they're not moving, and that's where this upper respiratory is.
I don't think people think about that. Like, they're like, okay, everyone keeps it in a cage. It's okay to keep it in a cage. Like,
in a stuffed up.
Right, like,
my temp's right, my humidity's right. I don't know why my
right. I think in so many ways we separate like snakes from humans because they are very different. Like, I understand it, but then think about some like basic things to live that like pretty much all species need. Like everything they need to move.
Absolutely.
Like, think of one animal that stays 100% still all the time.
They don't move a lot, but they did a study on indigos. They move a mile a year.
Absolutely.
Right. Like, and even if you don't need that research, just common sense. Like, oh, this thing can't move. It can only move 1/4 of its body at a time, or it's gonna hit the edge of my cage. Like, maybe I should do something bigger.
For sure. And then the flip side to that too is like with the retics, you know, some snakes don't do well in big environments, but they still have to come out and get exercise. There's not a snake in my house that doesn't get out at least twice a month. And if you're an asshole, it's only twice a month. like most of my snakes are getting out 3-4 times a week, even.
But also, you're not putting all the food into them. So how often do you feed maybe a male to a female?
I'm still weekly feeding every 7 to 10 days adult animals. I mean, just my males that are never eating anything larger than a colossal rat. You know, I could feed those guys.
Colossal rat. I'm sorry, that was really funny.
Makes it sound real small.
For sure. You know, something the size of like a Nerf football, you know, but I could be feeding them 4-pound rabbits. They are more than capable of taking that and getting these obscure sizes.
It's just fucking goats and shit.
All the time. People are always telling me how proud they are of their 15-foot male that's like 120 pounds. And I'm just like, great. You took an animal that's going to live 30 years and you made it so he's going to live like 8 and he's going to die like kidney failure and heart disease.
So you got
the same thing I'm going to die from because I'm overweight, you know?
You got a huge size for half the time. Speaking of your males and females, someone asked, do you always cool your females down?
I do personally. I know people that tell me, you know, they've got stuff in rooms with no windows and they don't adjust their temperatures and they still have seasons. Personally, for me, it all started like this. Now my season's gotten crazy because I follow like just what the season's doing now, but it started on a holiday schedule. And basically it was like every year, right around the 1st of September, I begin my cooling. And by the time I hit like the Halloween area, I'm as cool as I'm going to get. So every night I go from having like 84, 85 degrees where it's normally sitting to I drop it like a degree. And then next week I'll drop it another degree or two. And I do that for 4 or 5 weeks until we get around that Halloween time. Halloween time, man, those girls, they're coiled up tight. They're bloated with follicles.
They're ready to go.
They know what's going on.
They're like, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I start throwing the males in. And the males, it's like 2 weeks of wooing. 2 weeks of like, they're all over. You don't expect to see a lockup right off the bat. You know, he's got to get in there and whisper some sweet nothings in her ear. I got to play a little Al Green for him for about 2 weeks. But, you know, it all catches up eventually.
And are you hoping that that may spur like growing follicles in the females?
Oh, you know, that's the cooling is what it's all about. The cooler it gets, and the more you start to notice they're hugging that cold side of their tank, and they eventually you'll notice your females. The girl that's really getting ready and is really like uncomfortable with follicles, she'll throw her body up on that side wall
just to really get on it.
Right, get cold is what she's trying to do. She's trying to cool her body all the way down. When you see them like they're throwing that body up on the glass or they're throwing that body up on that side wall,
trying to get cool,
get a male in there. Yeah, get a nail in there because she's just about ready to roll, man. But to me, those seasonal changes and that cooling process, it's what starts my season. If I didn't do it, I don't think I'd have a season. For sure.
Sorry.
Maybe I think I see it in your collection because you just post this stuff, but I also see in the ball python collections that kind of maybe domestication's taking place, but you breed kind of all year round. Like you just cut eggs and then you have a female.
It's crazy now. It used to be this like perfect season. Like I say, I start pairing around Halloween, and then like I start seeing eggs around Thanksgiving, and then I'm like hatching babies at Christmas time, New Year's or whatever. And for some reason, I think it has to do with just our weather changes. Like Texas weather has been crazy. Like it just gets warmer and warmer, and now we had this weird cold ass fucking summertime.
Well, the morning is in the 60s,
right?
Yet the afternoon's in the 90s. So it's like, what the fuck are you supposed to do right now?
I've got snakes breeding at the house right now that would never breed until October typically.
Just because we have these random
colds.
Right.
For the mornings, it's fall for half the day, and then summer for the rest of the
half. It just made it so I had to adjust to them. When you see those females doing right, you start going ahead and dropping your temps. You start getting in line with them because outside behavior. Barometric pressure plays a part in this. The fucking moon cycle plays a part in this. There's a whole lot more here than just like I just threw 2 dogs together and they made more dogs. It's not like that with these snakes,
there's
man.
thought behind it,
definitely. You really have to make spring happen. You know, you have to make those seasonal changes, and a lot of that's just waiting for them to naturally occur.
And at the same time, they like do their own thing.
For sure.
You can control it to a certain extent, but at the end of the day,
I got girls that, you know, I'll be like, I swear this girl, she breeds this time every year. It's like clockwork. And then she'll just take 3 years off.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, I did everything the same. What do you mean you're just done? Like, and then she'll start breeding again, you know? So I tell people that all the time. I don't tell these snakes when to breed. I just watch them. I'm extremely observant. And when they give me the signs, I do what I'm supposed to do. But it's all on them. And there's no guarantee that I'm going to have a season next year. Like all these girls could just go like, nope, things ain't right this year. We're not going to do it this year.
That's when you get caught in like people do so much snake math. Like I bought this snake, I'm going to breed it in this amount of time. Then I'm going to make this many babies.
That never works. Whatever that is, like you just throw all that to the garbage because like none of that math ever.
For the next 5 years, I'll make 40.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, shit just never.
The guys who are really successful have these large collections because a third of it's probably only going to breed every season.
You have to switch off.
Absolutely. And it's good too. You know, I see a lot of guys that'll just breed everything they got. Myself, this is the first year that my collection's gotten to a point, my females are mature to a point where I'm really going to start breaking into like a third. Where it's like every year I breed about a third of my collection. Okay. So, you know, if you want that ivory, that Motley Platinum stuff, you might have to wait 2 more years before I make it again. You know what I mean? That's going to hold my market strong. That's going to make it so my females are laying hardier clutches. They're getting 2 years.
You're not just constantly trying to work
them out like a puppy mill. You know what I mean? Right. It's really letting those girls put their mommy weight back on, cycle right, lay good, hardy, healthy clutches. And that's across the board what I'm here for. I'm for healthy animals, man. I'm not into just production. And this year we hit like 240 animals, 250 animals. We might have beat that just a little bit even. I don't want to make much more than this. Like
Okay.
500 was always my cap out, and now I'm thinking like 350 animals is a solid
It's a
season.
shit ton, Ryan. Like that's a lot.
Especially when you have higher level animals.
Absolutely, I make a decent enough living. I'm doing better than a school teacher.
Full time?
This is all I do.
Hey, let's not bring up the
Oh,
school
shit.
teacher salary.
I'm just saying, like, I do slightly better than a school teacher, but I'm not like an auto mechanic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Let's not use that expression when the school teacher's right here.
Too funny. Yeah, I'm not getting rich over here, man, but that was always my goal, was if I can make a school teacher salary doing what I love to do, well, then that's all I really care
like
about.
Also, let me bring up school teachers.
Yeah.
School teacher salaries are very varied. Let me
For
say
sure.
one point. If you work for a Dallas,
Some people who are
hey,
angry right now
yeah.
on the lower side.
hey. if you work for a Dallas independent
Sure.
school district school,
Yeah.
you are guaranteed $50,000
That's
minimum.
decent.
That's probably better than I.
So,
Probably
because I work at person.
I figure I've got a clear 40. You know, feed
Yeah.
is crazy. $100 a month on feed.
Can we
$100 a
talk
month
about
on
that?
like,
What?
You know, I spend $100.
Okay,
You got those-
you
got
make me
those
feel
great
better.
shit,
You
so-
make me cost him
Oh,
so
yeah.
much on the snakes. I
She's like, how are you making paper towel rolls, the hides for the snakes? Because
He goes through so
Yeah,
many.
Yep,
like
absolutely.
so much shit you don't think
You
about with
never
snakes.
think
I'm thinking
about
about. I'm like, wow, our electricity bill's real high this week. And I kept thinking, like, what is it? What is it? Wasn't like,
It's a little
oh,
bit cooler.
because there's
It's a
heat
little-
tape. Because there's heat tape
yep.
on all of these and all that shit.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
There's a lot more than just
Oh,
banging
shit,
out snakes,
what?
for sure.
You're probably thinking what I'm thinking.
No.
But I want to talk about the production rats that you're
No,
starting.
no,
to save
pause.
the cost
I want
of
to say
labor.
something before that. Okay, today's episode is about retics and rats, but someone asked a question 3 times, so I want to answer them.
All right, what we
Can
got?
you do it real quick? It's for you. What is your normal corn snake feeding plan for a non-breeding corn snakes? I don't know if there's a difference
Honestly,
in feeding
if
between
you
breeding.
want to
and
be, if it's
so
anything
this is
from
going to addiction goner.
anything from hatchling to you're about that time where you're about to breed, I would, if you're just keeping it as a pet, go once a week, and then when it's adult size, it stops growing. Just cut that to maybe once every 2 to 3 weeks. Just depends on how your animal looks, but you definitely want to. I mean, that's a rule of thumb for me. I feed my babies, if they're hatchlings, up until they get well started, maybe like 3 months or so. I'll do that 3 to 5 days. But once they're ready to go, they're started. Once a week is fine.
Yeah,
Even as hatchlings, once a week.
That's
is fine.
baby snake almost across the
Really?
board too. Honestly, I mean,
Like-
there's stuff with slower metabolisms out there, GTPs and things like that, that maybe you want to give a little more space. But that's the same routine I do on my baby reeds.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, little guys right off the egg. If they're pooping, when they poop, they get another meal, man. You know, by the time
I
they
do
get
that
months,
for ball pythons too when I bred balls. I did the
absolutely.
same
If you
thing.
poop on 3 days, day 4, you get a
You're
meal,
getting it,
dude.
you're ready to go.
Absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted to answer her or him because yes. And then Ryan, someone named Patrick Starr.
Oh goodness,
Said to
that's my boo.
Like
Wait,
SpongeBob.
like I was gonna say,
That's my
wait,
boo.
is that a
Like
real person's
SpongeBob.
name or
Like
is that SpongeBob?
He's a legit person. He is a
But like,
Okay.
is his name
But like-
Patrick Starr?
That is really his
No.
Fuck, that is awesome.
Okay, well he said tell everyone about the snake you sold him that's getting to him next weekend. It's supposedly it's like really cool or something.
He bought a nice 10 lot from me of some stuff. I think he's wanting to get an ultra ivory golden child. I had some ultra ivory golden child possible tigers out of this last clutch. I don't know. Patrick is probably like my #1 customer right now. So he buys a lot of
He
stuff. It's
buys-
hard for me to go like, yeah, here's that one Patrick snake that he bought. Like, fuck, that guy's fucking kept me running this year. I love that guy.
He also said, should I be painting my D's and berms already?
Ticks.
For I can't read.
Pairing is ticks and
Pairing.
worms.
Thank you.
You know, it
So-
just depends, man. Like I say, watch those girls. You'll know that girl. She's gonna blow it up big.
There's signs.
She's gonna hug that cold
okay.
wall for sure. Absolutely. And you feed the way that you're supposed to feed too, so you'll really realize it. That's the key too. A lot of these guys, they don't see this because they're not feeding heavy enough. Willy nilly every 14 days, a little 4-pound rabbit here or there. When you're getting ready to go into that damn
I thought you were
Pause for
done.
a beer
I thought
chug.
you were done.
hell yeah. when you get ready to go into that damn when you get ready to go into that damn breed season, man, you got to hit them hard that last month, man. Yeah, I only feed on like a 7-day schedule typically or whatever, and I only feed like 3 or 4 pound meals, even my biggest girls. But man, building up the breed season, these last 3 or 4 weeks, I don't even know who's eating what.
Because you're just
I'm just throwing food to everybody right now. If you're at the door looking for it, I'm feeding you until you're not at the door looking for it right now, because this is going into that time.
Has getting ready for breed season always been September?
It's usually, like I say, you start my cooling usually now, but right now
it feels super early. Okay,
I had lockups in August.
I don't know if you do somewhat what I would do with carpets, but what I do is more seasonal. So during the late summer, when it's going into fall, which is going to be, their breeding is going to be in the winter, I start pounding them with food, and then they're like, oh my god, I'm getting ready. Then that fall, and they start to go down in temperature. They still eat, but that, I feel like that feeding before is what.
Oh, it triggers a lot of the response. Absolutely. If you don't bang that girl real hard those first couple months, leading up into that breed season, she's not going to cycle. These snakes, they not only are they not dumb, they're really in tune with their body. They're really in tune with like fucking what's going on in this world, man. They know when storms are coming. They know all this stuff. And if their body is not at a weight where they're going to be able to produce a hardy clutch, they're not going to cycle. These animals don't just lock up and breed just to lock up and breed. If everything's not right, that's not. They know there's no point.
Happen. Like it's not going to work, so I'm not going to do it.
They're very in tune with what's happening.
You heard it here. You got to. Girls,
you gotta bang them strong.
When you say bang, like when you say bang, I'm like, wait, is he talking about feeding? Like, what is he? And he said,
I gave a girl the other day a 14-pound duck, roughly.
Holy
we're just ready to put her in.
You banged her hard.
I banged her ass hard.
Okay, this might be a stupid question, but is there any thought when trying to loose snakes, make them lock up? Is there any, does it matter whether you put the girl in the boy's tub, the boy in the girl's tub? Like, is there thought in that? Is there a thing?
For me, it's always boy to girl. I don't want to disrupt.
The girls are too big.
Well, that's a big part of it. But, it has to do with how she's receptive. The way I know that female is receptive, this is one of the keys. I see this done like wrong all the time. Everybody tells me, oh, I put my male retic in with my female retic. She threw her stuff all out. It's all on the glass. She's just trying to give it to her.
Wait, what?
They will literally like expose themselves, and they're spraying musk, and they're smearing stuff all over the glass. And that is a female telling you, not today, sir. I have a headache.
What?
You're not getting none of this today.
I'm
spraying musk everywhere. And most people think like, oh man, she got a pussy stuck out. She's trying to get some. Like I have these guys tell me this stuff all the time, dude. It's ridiculous. Like, and you're like, no, she's really like telling him like, not today. Actually, you need to get this guy the fuck out of here before I eat him. Like, but it's all the time. I see this. And really what you're looking for, when you put that male in there, the female should not move an inch. She should just slunk up.
Okay.
She's gonna coil up as tight as she can get.
But how does that influence?
Oh, that's just open game. He knows what.
Wait, how do they lock up when she's coiled?
She's got enough of herself out there where he can get in there and get what he needs.
That's interesting because when we saw the corn snakes, it was like two kind of straight, like they went very, very straight. Like both of them.
And when the lockup happens, those tails will intertwine. And you will get kind of that same kind of look or whatever. But when you first put that male in there, if that female's moving around at all, she's trying to get away. She's trying to get away. She's telling him, not today, sir.
Yeah.
Stuff like that all the time. I hear guys think that, like, oh yeah, she's ready. Like that's the total opposite.
I feel like she's the sign. Colubrids are more like they'll straighten out and be like receptive,
right?
And they'll kind of dance a little bit, but
for sure.
But these are it's like yes or no.
The male does all the courting.
The male will do some stimulation and courting.
He does all the courting, and the female either goes, "Okay, this can happen," or "You need to get the fuck out of here."
So that's why you put the male in the females because she gives you the sign.
She's gonna let you know what's happening
if it's happening.
And do they have breed year-round?
Like the male does have spurs,
so you can
he
see
will
him,
work
kind of tickling
absolutely,
and stuff.
Absolutely, man. And they arch real big too. They'll throw big old heavy arches. My males every year during the breed season, you can always tell the best breeder males because their backs get all rubbed raw. They're rubbing against the grate of that little vent on the vision cages because they're arching and they're just sexing up them girls. Them arches are them going, yeah, baby, look how big I am.
That's like the pile driver.
That's him letting her know, like, I'm here to do business.
Even though they're not in like the similar tubs, like they're completely separate.
Oh, for sure.
Like, You don't think snakes realize like the females can't see me right now?
Oh yeah,
like, they're not in here. I'm in here by myself, but I'm still gonna do all the like.
And they will. They'll arch around in that tub. They'll spur their water dish when they're ready. A male that's ready, he'll do just about anything, man.
That's true across
genus,
across
whatever,
species,
man.
whatever.
Yep, I'll pregnate this water dish.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. I know I've got a good couple. They're probably going to watch this at some point. Pootie Tang's family out there. Oh, Chris and y'all, man. They had a male that they got from me, Pootie Tang. Pootie Tang is a super good boy. I produced him a couple years ago, man. And he went to this couple, and they took real good care of him. And after like a year, she gets him out one day, and she goes, "Man, he tried to eat me alive." Well, he's hit this sexual maturity part of his life, and they're breeding ball pythons in this room. She's probably got 100 ball pythons in there, and they're having all these ball python breedings going on. Females are cycling, so he smells. Love is in the air, you know.
Right, he's like,
pheromones.
I'm ready. Okay, y'all are doing it. I'm gonna do it too.
I'm 3 years old. I'm ready to do this, man. And so she pulls him out this day, and she starts to pet him, and he starts arching. And she starts petting him some more. And next thing you know, he's the devil. And I had to tell her, I was like, man, you know, what you did was you were another male in competition petting this guy as he's arching. So now
I have to get rid of you.
I have to get rid of you. Exactly. Male on male aggression and retics during breed season is a real thing. If they're arching and throwing those big coils around and stuff, you want to stay underneath of them. You want to introduce them to the female as easy as you can, but you don't want to instigate anything because they can turn out and lash on you for sure. I've never had a one-on-one male breed season aggression instance, but I've heard a million of them for sure.
Wow. Similar in the same area, someone asked you, what is your opinion on super dwarfs?
Oh man, I knew this would come up. So I don't do any SDs. I don't do any dwarfs. I don't do any of that stuff. If you're gonna buy them and you're wanting a small retic, make sure you buy pures and expect the attitude to be different. You know, I work with all these big mainlands that have been long-term breeding projects. Most of my lines come from Bob Clark, who's been doing this stuff since like the late 60s, early 70s. Other long-term breeding projects that I've already spent 7-8 years into that came from somebody else that already spent 10 years on it. Those animals, it's no different than like a fox turning into a dog. 9 generations, you're looking at a pretty well domesticated animal, you know. Those super dwarf retics, they didn't come in the country till like 2007, 2008.
Wait, it's only been like 10 years?
They haven't been here that long.
Oh, shit. Where do they come from, by the way?
You know, really all of Indonesia.
There's a lot of little islands, right?
And that's where your SDs come from. They're your island chain stuff and locality range stuff off the island, you know, off your mainland Indonesia. And because they're island locality, they have smaller options for prey, smaller items that they're eating less frequently, and that's what's really making these animals, you know, evolve.
Our dear friend Evan just commented on Facebook and said he's on the way to the ER right now. I'm not quite sure if that's serious.
Accident?
Right.
Also, like, if I'm on the way to the ER, I'm not going to get on the Facebook Live to tell you that I'm on the way.
I thought y'all should know.
Like,
breaking news. He's on.
I don't know if I should bring this up on the podcast, but that's what he just said on Facebook. He said it's fucked his shit up.
That's not good.
Not sure, but
that's not good.
Okay.
Sorry.
This podcast is dedicated to
the Evan that once was.
To Ice Cube or Ice T.
We'll miss you.
I'm not sure what's going on with him. Okay.
You'll be missed.
I'm sorry.
But I feel like we get a lot of those percentages. I always hear those percentages.
Back to the SD stuff, man. So, like, okay, they've only been here since like 2006, 2007, maybe at the earliest. 2008 is really when you kind of started seeing them around. And a female takes 5 to 7 years to sexually mature. They're not even like these retics that everybody says is 3 years, but none of them breed till they're 4.5, 5 for me either. But these super dwarfs, they've got to be older animals to get the sexual maturity where they'll even lay eggs. So we're only looking like 2nd generation from wild caught. If you've got 3rd gen, that's somebody like Rodney Bolich or whatever. Like, that guy's got some crazy ass locality stuff. He's been doing it a little longer than everybody else. He's probably got some 3 and 4 generation stuff, but most people, it's 1st generation wild caught. And that's like, you might as well go wild catch a fucking king snake out your yard and grow it up to 7 foot. And it's, you know, they're crazy.
Yeah, I don't think people know that because I have an F1, even a corn snake.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They're both very skittish, very dickish,
totally
very
different animals, man. Totally different animals.
And imagine a retic, it's obviously a less, more food aggressive.
If you would ask me in 2008 when I was working at Animal Medical Center McKinney for, But anyway, he's an asshole. I don't even want to mention his name. But anyway, I was working with this guy. We were breeding retics on site. We were some of the first lavenders that were outside of Bob and these other guys. You know, we were selling $1,500 lavender albino retics back when, you know, it's forever ago. You know, this $300 snake now. But when I was up there, I used to always ask him, I was like, man, who wants these things? This is like 2008. They were evil. We had a trio in the back. They were het purples and het whites. We were making these lavenders, and literally it would take three of us. One would open the door. One would sit on top of the cage and head grab the snake as it came out, and then the doc would get the main part of the body, and that's what we had to go through every day just to like if you wanted to clean the shit out.
It's not even worth it.
You know,
like it's not worth it.
It was insane. It was not right. And some of those first babies, I remember there was one lavender male that I kind of raised up in house, and he would still bite me regularly. Like once a week, he would still get his like fill of me, and he would like light me up or whatever. But he was like the first retic I ever worked around. They're like, I can handle him some days. You know, like
yeah, 6 out of 7. You know? That's okay.
I didn't know anything about tap trading then. This guy I worked for, he was just breeding strictly for profit. You know, he thought he was going to get rich and be the next Bob Clark because Bob Clark sold him some dream, you know, and he thought he was going to be the next big deal. And after like 2 years of getting lit the fuck up and not being able to sell his stuff and wholesaling it all back to Bob for next to nothing, he was done. He gave them all off to a good friend of mine now, the guy that I'm doing my Mexican Beater Project Lizard. A little bit of the Mexican Beater Lizard Project. So, you know, it's small world. Oh, Max Peterson over there. But, like, yeah, it's come a long way since, like, 2008 when I used to tell people all the time, I don't know why anybody would want to work with a retic. And now my retics in my house, they're way more well-behaved than my berms. They're more well-behaved than anything else I've ever owned. They're intelligent. They pick up this tap trading stuff really quickly. They just, like, they know what's going to happen, and they fall into line, man. I've never worked with a species of snake that truly, like, observes me back the same way I observe it, and they fall into routine with me. We're like, working together. Everything else, it's like I'm working and you're working against me. These retics, we're a team, man. Like that, we're on the same page all the way through. I just wrote the other day this big long post about how, like, you know, this is the first year I really feel like I'm in tune with my animals. I know when they're going to breed. I know when they're going to do what they're going to do because I've spent the 10,000 hours observing them. Man, if you spend that time with any species, with anything,
you're gonna learn it.
You're gonna fucking learn it. You're gonna learn how to read these animals differently than your average person, for sure.
So we've talked about before, and I'm interested in your opinion. Like we talked about, do you think humans can actually make a snake more docile? Like,
you know,
and so the way you
absolutely.
talk about your snakes, I feel like, you know, you see the effect you have on yours. So do you think we can make a snake more docile?
These animals want nothing more than a strict routine. They're no different than your children at home. They just want every day to be the same, the weeks to mimic each other, the months to mimic each other. And if you get it to where everything rolls, you don't have to have my routine. You can have anybody's routine.
Okay.
But a strict routine where everything is the same.
They know what's coming.
They're going to fall into line, and they're
Gotcha.
going to pick it up, especially an intelligent species like these reticulated pythons. And I have to say, just in my own observation in 15 years of working with a species or whatever it is, I've seen that they genetically are passing on this disposition.
Really?
You know? It
to the babies? Okay.
Absolutely. It's generation to generation we get animals that are more laid back. And I even notice at my house, if I pair like my white Motley Platinum, who's one of the most laid back animals I have in my whole collection, when I pair him to this Platinum that I've had, that I've raised from a hatchling as well, they're both some of the most laid back, mild-mannered animals I have. Every year, 3 years running now, those animals, they act like ball pythons, man. I reach in their tubs, they curl up, you know, you scoop them out, you do whatever you want with them. If you breed animals that have been worked with for long-term, long generation projects, and you're picking out the stuff that has the better dispositions to breed back to, you're going to make animals with better dispositions. It's just inevitable.
It's just possible.
It's all evolution is all it is. If you don't believe in evolution, I don't know what to say to you, but like, that's all this is. 9 generations we've turned a dog, you know, a fox into a dog. It's no different with these retics. It's no different with anything. You put 10 generations into captive breeding, you've domesticated that animal to an extent. Is it a, you know,
but think about like scrubs.
Well, yeah.
Would you think are there 10 generations of scrubs?
I don't think anybody's captive.
Yeah, but no one's bred them out. What I'm saying is that you may not be able to tame down a specific animal, but maybe you can breed it to be more tame.
I guarantee you, if you took a pair of scrubs, you bred them, you bred their babies, and you started specifically picking out the better mannered animals,
you can make it happen.
10 generations, you will make
there's been nothing
Why is
but
no one-
really F1s. So
Why is no one bred? Yeah, why is
they're really
they're
hard to breed.
really hard to breed. Okay.
Hard to breed, cheaper kind of
No one
animals
gives a
too.
fuck.
You can still import them, right? Well, I breed them. I can
There's
import
no
them. I can get one
market,
for
there's no
$200.
anything,
Right? Exactly. That's definitely a part of it. It's a shame. I see that with a lot of stuff too, where it's like, well, why do I have to breed it when I can get them for $25?
white
Import
label.
But they're
it,
just
right.
going to continuously be marked as like
Yeah, a
difficult.
bullshit throwaway.
right
animal.
because you can get those
We're
if you
going
don't.
all the way back to where we started. Passion. Somebody's going to come along that's going to be passionate about those animals, about those white lips, about those. They're going to make a fucking project
I
out
love
of
white
it.
lips.
Yeah.
I love white lips.
Somebody's
Yeah,
going
but
to
she
do
would
it.
never take
Never
that
have
over
I
it.
white
want one so
lips. She just doesn't know.
every
She's
single
so-
yeah.
picture, I'm just like, I want one. I want one. I
Somebody's
want
going to eventually do the scrubs right, going to do those pythons right. It's just going to take somebody that's really passionate about those specific animals and
And
it's going to do it
I
right.
feel like, you you have an animal with more requirements. Maybe you have to be more centralized in your collection.
Absolutely.
You can't have that we all like to have. Maybe you got to just focus on
That was the
scrubs.
hardest part for me getting into this retic stuff, dude. I used to have everything. I ran a reptile rescue for 10 years. I was a vet tech for 10
Whoa.
years. Like,
okay.
I did a whole lot before I started breeding reptiles. I made music and all sorts of fucking shit before I got into this. Like, this was going to be a career for me. You know what I mean? And it was really difficult in like 2010 when I was like, all right, berms and retics. This is the market I want. These are the animals I'm really into that I want to focus on. I have to make projects out of this stuff. It was hard as fuck to like get rid of my iguanas.
solve
and
the
my
rest of
irises
it.
and my-
Yeah.
Exactly. If I hadn't focused on those projects, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be paying my bills on retic money. You know. Fucking,
So I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but is that what you would advise to new people who are wanting to get in the breeding
be
game? Like,
passionate.
should they choose early? Like, you have the experience of kind of having multiple things and then
We all
finding
did
your
that.
one.
For sure.
But do you
For
think
sure.
do you think people should choose that one early or get experience of a lot and then choose
It
that
depends,
one?
man. I don't think you're going to be successful until you focus on something, though. Whatever it is, I don't care if it's shoes, t-shirts, whatever the hell it is. Until you focus on something specifically and you put that time into it, you're never going to be successful at anything. It's going to be really hard if you're starting out with like 30 species that all need their own individual things. And they all breed differently, and they all have like their own little quirks. It's really hard. You know, it took me 7-8 years now just to kind of feel like I'm finally comfortable. This year, I'm finally like, I know these fucking retics. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like 7-8 years, and even then, I'm learning something
Then there'll
new.
be that one animal
Oh,
that
yeah.
fucks your world up.
I'm
and you're
still
like,
learning
oh,
something
no.
new every day, and
Yeah.
every time I think I got them all figured out, you know, like I'm saying, like, oh, they coil, they hug the cold side, they always do this. I had a girl last year that never coiled. She roamed her fucking cage for a month while she bloated and fucking developed follicles. I just had to watch her fucking close. I locked her up one fucking time. She made a crazy fucking clutch. Sometimes they break the rules, man. That snake ate until she laid.
There's no 100%.
There is not 100%. Anybody tells you this is the way it is and this is the only way to do it, that's one of the biggest wrongs I see in this hobby, man. If you're not watching these animals and learning from these animals every day and you think you already know it all, like, you're fucking doing them a big
There's
injustice.
only-
You're doing yourself
All
an
right,
injustice.
and I think people who are big in the big acknowledge that more often. Like,
Absolutely.
there's only so much I say we. I'm not we. I don't know shit.
Yeah.
Y'all. There's only so much y'all can say, but at the end of the day, your snake is your
It's
snake.
your snake, and you
No
gotta
matter
figure
how
this
much
out.
I tell you,
Yep.
yours is going to be different from mine.
Well,
Mine are all, you know what I mean?
And
Like,
in a different part of the country. Shit.
right? Like, we were talking about cooling and all that, and
Yep.
the temperature.
Maybe
If I
That's
lived in
different.
Washington,
It's
if
all
I lived in
different.
Washington, it would probably be a totally different
Right.
story, dude.
Right.
for
And so
sure.
that's the one thing to remember. Like, yes, all the big breeders are out there to tell you what to do, like to help you. You have to have something.
Absolutely.
on your-
And you
Absolutely.
that's about having a smaller collection first, I feel like, and getting that attention to all the details that are
Yep.
happening, and then slowly building, and then you're like, oh, I've seen this shit before.
Absolutely.
And then it's easy to apply to more animals. If you all of a sudden have a giant collection, you don't catch those little
You don't
details.
see those little details. And observation is 100% what we do. Like, everything else is secondary. If you're not watching those animals and focusing on them and like seeing like year to year, like they go through the
How they
same pattern.
change.
They go through this pattern. It's the same every fucking year, man. You can set your clock by. I got a girl. She's gonna ovulate October 13th this year. She ovulated October 13th last year. She ovulated October 13th year before that. You know, like, there are some of these animals that you can literally set your clock to it, man. You just got to be observant enough to take it all in. And I was talking to a good friend of mine, breeding ball pythons, kind of helped me out doing some stuff now. And she just keeps asking me all these questions like, oh, do I do this? Do I cool? Do I, when she's bull wrapping, is she ready? And she's asking me all these questions, and I'm saying like, yes. This is what you do. But at the end of the day, there's always that. Yeah, exactly. Because these animals, what they need to do, you know what I mean? Like if everything's not just right, they're not going to cycle. If their body's not just right, they're not going to fucking cycle. You can do everything right, and this animal may not still do what you're wanting it to do. It's not a guarantee. This is not a perfect science. This is not exact by any means at all. You just got to learn and evolve with it. Figure out what works for you.
Speaking of ball pythons, just a little aside, someone asked on Instagram, what is the best advice, since both of you have bred ball pythons, you would give to someone getting into breeding ball pythons?
Once again, breed what you like. The biggest problem, we were talking about this earlier with ball pythons, I see is like here locally, I got probably 5 guys that are at every single ball python show. They all do balls. They all do the same stuff. They all have the exact same projects on every table.
And every show is 95% ball pythons.
Yeah. So you all have the same animal. At least like expand your projects out of the realm. Like don't all be chasing that same whatever that I don't do ball
banana,
like
banana creamsicle.
Right.
Because you're like, GHI and Mojave looks really cool, so you breed a bunch of those. But why don't you step back and say, what if I breed it to something else?
There are 2,000, 10 million fucking ball python genes out there that you could play with. I just don't understand why everybody's stepping on everybody's toes. Everybody wants to make the same project.
Immediately, someone sees something they like, then they make 1,000 of them because everyone else jumps there. You got to create your own lane.
All these vendors are pissed at each other at these shows because one guy sells the same steak that they got on their table. Man, otherwise it's just whoever's got the cheapest thing out there is what's going to sell. If you've all got these banana pies on your table, obviously the one that's selling for $1,200 is going to sell before the one for fucking $2,000. It's the same goddamn steak, And I feel like that's a lot of why I chose RETICS, because I don't have that problem, man. I work on my own projects. It's not all the most craziest, wildest stuff that's out there, but there's really nobody working on the shit that I'm working on. Like, you want a nice, clean Motley Platinum? There are 100 people that are going to send you my way. You want a nice, clean Ultra Ivory? There's 100 people that are going to go, yeah, that's the guy you need to go talk to for that, man. And it's because those were the genes that I liked and I focused on and I perfected them and I've got them where they look really fucking good now, man. And I don't think that's any different with ball pythons. If you're making pastels and you're picking out the best, orangest, brightest pastels and your super pastels blow everybody else's away, they should be worth more money, man.
You can sell them for
whatever you want,
$50.
Exactly.
If
they're that good, man. So it's all about just being passionate about your projects, seeing your projects all the way through. Don't cash out fucking everybody in the ball python world unless you do it, but in other worlds too. The retic world's real bad too. Fucking people go, oh, I'm gonna raise these animals up. I'm ahead of the game, and they see somebody makes one, and they go, oh, fuck that. I'm gonna go chase the next new dream. Like. You got to see those projects.
And you see the successful people in that. There's Ozzy, who just breeds Orange Dreams.
Sure.
Orange Dreams pretty much exclusively and just makes that better and better.
Yep.
And there's Justin Kabelka, who only works with recessive genes because that's obviously what's harder to make.
That's what you have to do.
They have their own lane, just like you have your own lane.
You have to focus on a project and see it all the way through, man. You got to make your own lane. And a lot of what I do too, aside from in my own lane, I also live in the wake a little bit. I watch these guys that make that one hot $5,000 animal, and then 3 years later, when nobody else made it because it didn't fucking sell for $7,500 or whatever the hell, I make 30 of them and I sell them for $1,500, and I make it more available to the regular public. Or I take that animal that was $3,500 3 years ago that everybody forgot about, and I sell them for fucking $750 because I made 30 of them, and everybody forgot about it because they're busy chasing the next new thing. I do a lot of that living in the wake, where it's like somebody made something real hot. I wait a couple years, ain't nobody else making it. I put it back out at a price that people can afford. And better way to try to make some fucking money than it is chasing that fucking dream of, I'm going to sell $100,000 steak,
And that makes so much sense, because I talk about that with the Palmetto, because now it's $1,500. I reproduce them, I can sell them for $1,500. But the thing I'm thinking about is that when they're $500,
sure,
so many more people are going to buy them because they're so amazing. They're that good that when that price gets down to that pet level, maybe $500, maybe below that.
You say pet level is $500?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Someone's collecting. So it's like if you have a retic that's $5,000, one person's willing to buy that.
You're right.
If you produce the same thing and it's, you know, at the point where it's maybe $500.
Everybody loved that
people
5K animal. They just couldn't jump on the boat, man.
But once it gets down there, then the market opens up.
It really does, man. It really does, man. I do a lot of that. Like, it really, my living is earned on that living in the lake, man. I take that stuff that, you know, Prehistoric Pets made twice, and they sold it for $7,500, and it sat on a shelf forever. And, you know, 3 years later, I make it, and I sell it for fucking $1,200, and I sell the piss out of them. So there's definitely something to be said.
Wait till the public can get it.
For sure.
Not just the elite.
There's only as many weird people like us
that are actively breeding and stuff. There are 9 million people out there tell you they breed retics. There's probably like less than 100 of us that are actively really producing these animals in the United States. And I would say there's probably less than 25 of those that are like producing more than a clutch or two a year.
Okay. And all the rest are like fly-by-nighters.
Exactly.
They get into it, get out really
exactly. Quick. They make a clutch
or
two. It doesn't sell as fast as they think it would, so they wholesale it all off, and you know they're on to the next video. Now they
turns out you have to market your snakes.
Oh yeah,
you can't just produce them.
For sure. 90% of my sales, they're buying Ryan Sullivan snakes. They don't give a fuck what it looks like.
It's because it's yours. You made a name for yourself.
They'd rather buy off you than off of Craigslist.
Exactly.
And all, a fucking derp who doesn't know.
Now, do you post on Craigslist?
I don't do any Craigslist posts.
Really?
I do just pretty much Facebook sales and show sales. That's really all I do. I don't do
We need
any.
to get Ryan on Instagram. You have the best snakes, the best pictures, but it's like,
I just don't do all this.
Well, what about the Ashland girl who does your other stuff? Why can't you do Instagram?
I guess you could. I don't know. Facebook is
I'm
already
getting you followers.
For sure. Facebook is just already so much for me to keep. I'm old. I'm like in my 30s, dude.
Oh, because that's old? Get the fuck out of here. That's not old. I'm going to be there way sooner than I want to be. So don't say you're old.
This whole social media thing is way
30s are not old.
Yeah, I spend all day just on here on Facebook, just like answering questions, like, what do I feed my snake every 7 days? It takes up my whole fucking life.
I understand more questions if you get your Instagram.
Exactly, dude. You know, and I don't mind helping people, and I don't mind coaching people through whatever.
But it takes over.
It takes your whole life away from you sometimes. Sometimes, like, I'm trying to clean a cage, and literally my phone will beep like 40 fucking times. I can't even get this one piece of glass fucking clean. It's crazy some days, man. And you know, like I say, you know, if Ronnie Blasio or Patrick Starr or one of these guys that's like a good customer of mine hits me up and is like, hey, it's 2 a.m. I got a snake question. It is what it is. You support me. You know what I mean? I support you back. Fucking these people, a lot of times, though, like,
never buy from me.
You're not even my friend on Facebook. You like saw me in a thread someplace and you want to send me a whole bunch of questions and like get all my secrets to life. Like, and, like it's crazy to be that. Like,
and there are no secrets, though. It's all out there.
It's all out there, man. You could go Google all this shit. I learned almost everything I know from fucking Tom Regan and reading old Reptiles magazines. Fucking, you know.
So message Tom Regan.
Yeah, there you go. Message Tom Regan. You'll love that. Hell yeah. Fucking, you know, you find somebody good that you can ask legit questions to, that's cool. But like, you do your own research, like, because that guy's gonna quit talking to you if you keep asking him fucking bullshit over and over again, man. You know, and like I say, if you're supporting me back, I don't have no problem supporting you. But when you just want all my secrets to my trade that I spent like my whole damn lifetime, like
I can't
developing, I can't hardly break that off, man.
And half of it is like, you know. Like
I can't write it in a paragraph. Yeah, I can't write that in a paragraph. Right.
Also, like, there's some people.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm very new to this, but even the questions he's gotten, sometimes I'm like, okay, by your question, you clearly do not know what the fuck you're talking about. So I'm like, do I even want to tell you? Yeah. Like, I just want to tell you to return the animal. Like, I don't even want to answer your question because it scares me that you keep it in.
And I will say, I refuse more sales than I make, 10 to 1 every day. I'm turning down sales.
Really? You're not comfortable with it?
Absolutely have to with RETICS. Yeah, I can't let these animals get out to some place where they're not going to do right. And I care about the animals I produce. I want them to thrive. If I produce an animal and it's healthy and it's thriving, when it leaves my house, I want to make sure it goes to a one-person owner. I hate this, like, everybody's flipping everything for everything on Facebook now and trading up for the next new thing. And it's like, it's the cool thing to do is like, I just trade it up or whatever. Like, you buy an animal, it's your responsibility. I go buy a plant, it's my fucking responsibility. I water.
You're not going to flip the plant.
It dies. Like, that's not a snake even. Like, these animals, like, I'm probably the only retic guy you're ever going to talk to that keeps his males. from 2010 are still at my house right now.
Really?
Everything I started this fucking project with, I still have, and I might not ever breed them again. My white Molly Platinum, this is probably about the last year that he's like still like viable. Is it like genetically he's not going to make anything new? I've already made crazy shit
The
from him.
extent that you're gonna get.
He's probably going to retire here pretty soon. I'm not going to go sell that guy off for
Just because he can't breed.
because he can't breed. And every other breeder you talk to, it's just
It's
like
gonna do that.
they bred him 1 season or 2 seasons. He's genetically been surpassed by his son, so they're going to go get rid of him because these animals are just, you know, they're trading cards. They're not trading cards.
I mean, there is a certain point. If you're doing it for a living, you have to be conscious of the 1
Space.
+ 2. You know, your
Space becomes a part. You know, for me, I'm at this point in my life where like I bought a lot of older animals to get me started. I bought a lot of big breeder females when I first got into this stuff to kind of like make money so I could get my ball rolling. For me, when all of my 6-foot cages I have now have animals that I produce that have replaced their parents. So, you know, their parents are going to die over time. It's just inevitable. 10, 20 years go by, your fucking stuff starts to fade out. As those animals fade out and they're being replaced by their children, eventually I'm just never going to hold anything back again. Like, you can only work so far. I've got, you know, I'm fucking fat and eat bacon every day. I'm going to live till I'm 60. I got 30 good years at this. You know what I'm saying? I got 27 years left of like breed. There's only so much I can do. Once I filled those cages with like everything in this room I produced, I don't have a reason to hold back anything. I'm done buying snakes. I haven't bought a snake in forever.
You haven't bought a snake in forever?
Forever.
Really?
Like
there's nothing that's like, ooh, that's new. I want that.
It's really not.
Wow.
Man. There's really not.
Okay.
Sounds crazy, but like
I'm surprised that. Okay, you know what? Actually, I'm thankful.
Yeah.
That means he will get to that point one day. Like, if you're at that, that means he'll get to that point. I'm waiting.
Don't have retics though. You can have 1,000 colubrids where you can have 100 retics.
100 kitty
Okay.
retics for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta step out for 2 seconds.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Go for it. Well, he asked Ryan this, but I think you could answer this too.
Yeah.
If you could choose one more from a ball python you want to put on a retic, what would you put?
Although I don't know enough about retics and ball pythons, I feel that retics have so many colors and pattern morphs.
So do balls.
Comparable to ball pythons.
Oh, okay.
So I think like the purples and yellows are more prevalent and better in
retics. I agree.
So like, and they get older. Even the natural animal has that gray and like
has that undertone
yellow look. It still is such an attractive animal, a bright animal. I feel like there's better genetics in retics.
So there's not something you want to from a ball python you want to put on a
so many things
retic?
in a ball python. If I could have a straight pie, like how pied is in ball pythons, that would be super cool. But I think in retics, Ryan would obviously know a lot more, but
there's no pied in retics right now?
There's cow, which is kind of like that, maybe halfway in between like the pixelatedness of the palmetto and the pied of the ball python. The ball python, the pied is like smudged out and like all the patterns elongated. I don't know how to explain it. The cow retic, I think it's more defined and it doesn't smudge out the pattern as much. I don't know. I think that they're just as cool genetic, just as much retics as there's ball pythons. Probably pythons in general. What am I talking about?
Who is Python Pete? Oh, I thought you said Python Pete.
Python Pete.
Okay. Gotcha.
Goddamn.
Gotcha. Okay, maybe let's,
slow down on the beers.
Slow down on the beers just a little bit.
Ryan can barely open the door.
Well, it's because Dixie was in the bathroom.
She was keeping me company. She was keeping me company.
Hey, Dixie, say hi. Okay, so Ryan, you can answer this question now. Sorry to get you right back into it. Actual Gaming asked if Ryan, could you choose one more from a ball python to put on a retic? What would it be?
Oh, Christ, man. I don't know enough about ball pythons to really accurately answer that. People all the time come to me and try to compare stuff like, like, oh, what's a sunfire? Well, they're kind of orange. Oh, so that's like a pastel? I don't fucking know, man. Honestly.
They're their own things.
They kind of are their own things. And a lot of those genes do kind of like, I can see where somebody would say like a sunfire is similar to a pastel. It's all hypomelanistic, you know what I mean? It's all an exaggeration of the same thing. But I mean, I don't know. I like contrasting colors. I like I like to see like black touch orange, touch red, touch yellow. So like a freeway retic would probably look cool or something like that, man. But I don't know enough about those genes to really throw anything around.
That's what I was saying. Retics have so many patterns and color. The colors are better on retics.
There's a lot. That ball python. This is one thing I will say. The day with my crotch here. The day they're hatched out is the best they're ever going to look in that egg coat. You know what I mean? They're as pretty as they're ever going to be. That retic, the day it hatches, is the ugliest he's ever going to be. He's just going to get better every single shed. When it's 9-10 foot long, every shed, it's just like more vibrant. Those colors are bolder. The pattern is bolder. They really get better with age, man. And they go through these like, I don't know if they're hormonal even or what they are, but they go through these like color changes even throughout like the month. You'll notice before shed cycle, they'll really dull down or whatever, but then right after a shed, they'll blow way out, or right after a meal, they'll get real vibrant. They call it firing up. You'll feed a big female a meal sometimes, you'll come in and it's not even the same snake anymore. Her golds are brighter, her silvers are brighter, her whole pattern seems bolder. And I don't know, it's just something about the way they're rushing the blood to those vessels and making themselves color up that way.
I feel the same way about my jungles. So like I opened it up today. I'm like, he doesn't look that good today.
Sure.
But like a random day will be like, holy fuck.
Right.
And another day will be like, like
absolutely.
They're shedding. They just shed. They can look all different at all times, but I feel like retics in general look good all the time in comparison to a lot of the other snakes.
Absolutely.
As far as your oranges, your purples.
Yep. You don't see a lot of purple and orange snakes out there across the board, and you get a lot of that in retics. We were doing this photo shoot with this photographer who didn't know anything about snakes or retics at all, and she's like, "Can we get something out that's like not purple and orange?" I was like, "Well, we're kind of fucking with retics,
but everyone else though."
That's funny. Everyone, I feel like we talked about that one day. We were like, "Are there any purple snakes? Are there any blue
Once
snakes?"
You see 1,000 purple snakes, you're like, if you see one, you're like,
"Holy fuck!" Right? Like it's purple. Yep, for sure. Sure.
Yeah, and I think we get super jaded with some of the mutations because I say, hey, if speckled king snake looks kind of like a diamond python, why don't people give a fuck about a speckled king snake? They're $40 and diamond pythons are $1,000. Well, it's happened where you favor a python species because it's a little exotic, and Native North American species are less exotic and more commonly seen.
Absolutely.
So you get used to that kind of shit.
No, getting jaded on the hobby in general, it's a hard thing not to do at some point. You know what I mean? A little bit. There's always going to be like you see so much. You know what I mean? All the time, even with talking about customers and questions and stuff like that.
Sorry.
You always got to step back sometimes and realize, like this is what I do for a living. This is what I'm here for to answer these questions,
Right, yeah. I mean, you have to, because at the end of the day, who knows if that's a customer, and then sometimes a customer turns into a Patrick Star who buys from you consistently. I mean,
most of my better customers, I would have never guessed out the gate. You know what I mean? You got to get to know everybody. You got to offer your knowledge to everybody, because you really don't know who's going to be that good sailor, who's going to turn into a real customer.
It's so hard to know where to draw that line.
It's difficult. It's very difficult, man, because you don't want to spend the same time wasting it on people that aren't going to be clients when you've got real customers out there that have real questions too. People think I eat clean snakes and breed snakes all day. It's a solid 8-10 hours a day, almost every single day, just feeding and cleaning animals in my house. To do that and then also be on Facebook for fucking 24 hours a day answering everybody's. It's a full life. I don't sleep no more. I got to turn my phone off at like 2 in the morning because y'all just blow me up all night. Like, it's kind of crazy.
But that's why people get weeded out. The people who are not willing to do that
if I didn't answer those questions, I wouldn't be having the success that I have. For sure. So you got to take it all with a grain of salt. For sure.
Sorry.
No.
Okay, so you're a big retic man right now, but
big retic man.
I'm a little retic man, actually. I'm only like 5'4".
It's not gonna work with the computer there. Sorry, but I'm trying to be Texas rat man. So I want to start like changing subjects.
Texas rat man sounds so much worse.
Okay, sorry.
What are you calling me?
No, I don't even know. We're getting ready to upset some people too, I'm sure.
Rat King, man. I just want to switch topics a little bit and talk about how you what got you interested in that, why you wanted it, what are the starting what's
I don't want to do it but it's just a necessity at this point, man. You know, my whole life I've been in every aspect of this world. I've worked pet stores. I started the DFW Riparian with David Spicer and those.
Really?
I've been all over.
Oh
the
shit!
place.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That was a nice job.
Let's not even talk about those cocksuckers. But you know, I've been around literally every aspect of that. I worked Petcos and vet tech, you know, like we bred stuff backstage at a vet clinic for years. I've done it all, man. And you know, with the rats, I never really wanted to do it for myself just because I know how much work is involved. It is a lot of work.
It's a shit.
It's a lot of just scrubbing tubs.
Difficult process.
For sure. And it's no fun at all. But, you know, I'm at a point right now where I'm spending $250, $350 a week on rats.
We're there now.
Yeah.
We're not there. We're like at 100 right now. I'm like, what's the point? Like, we might as well just do it ourselves.
Might as well just buy a fucking building to put rats in.
It's a full-time
and
job.
with that plus shipping, like, thankfully we have Big Cheese, so we can go to Fort Worth.
But
Big
like, Cheese is all fucked up.
Half the time it's out. They're out, right. Half the time
all these other people are just trying to rape everybody now. They're like, oh, you can't get from Big Cheese, so we're gonna sell you a $7 large.
But then all fucking people are balling off of rat money, and I'm like, fuck, maybe I should produce
just
more
like
rats.
why not?
Sure.
Then we can,
There's
especially with our picky feeders. We don't. I mean, we don't do ball pythons, so we don't have as much picky feeders. But some of our corn snakes are picky, and it's like, okay, do we go buy a $7 a null from PetSmart?
Right.
Do we wait till Big Cheese is back in stock? Like, shit to do it ourselves.
Absolutely.
At that, you get to a point you're like,
it was inevitable for me. I had to do it finally. People keep jacking their prices up. I'll be to the point. I mean, like I say, I'm consistent. My order's the same every week. But all of a sudden, the price started going up. I finally had to just get to my breaking point. You know, where like, all right, well then I guess I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna like show y'all how to do this because $7 large rats isn't gonna cut.
Yeah, because I got even to the point where I was like, Big Cheese doesn't have medium rats.
Right.
I don't. Maybe my jungle carpet doesn't get the size because I don't have medium rats.
Sure. Oh,
maybe I'm adding on the trigger, so it can production.
The whole
at that
season.
Point, you want to know that you're able to produce the animals to feed the animals.
Absolutely, man. Like I say, you know, you're spending $200-300 a week on rats. Like you could probably realistically grow that stuff out for, you know, a couple $10 bags of food. I'm buying this kid's food for like $15 a bag. You know, it's the same stuff as your Missouri diet. I got my guys on hay at the house, coastal hay, which is dirt fucking cheap too. There's ways to do this to make it cost efficient to where you don't have to rape everybody too when you're making your sales, man. For sure. I have a ton of flack right now because I just kind of got this thing up and rolling again. You know, I'm building the shop. I'm getting my prices out. And as soon as I release my prices, people that aren't even in my state are like, oh,
ready to get on it.
You can't put prices like that. You're fucking crazy. Wow. You're cutting yourself short. And they're just telling, everybody wants to tell me like, you know, where to buy my food, how to cut cost on this, and how to run my own business, man. Yeah, I'm fucking 32-year-old, man. I've done more in the last 5 years of these fucking RETICS than pretty much everybody that taught me how to do what the fuck I'm doing right now. I don't know. At a certain point, it kind of gets a little bit insulting when everybody's like, "Oh, you know, you're gonna you're not gonna make no money if they're selling at that price." Well, it's funny because like I bought rats for like 4 years off Kenny Allen at those prices, and he did really well for himself till he went through trouble. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can do this, and you can be right by people, and you don't have to rape everybody. You can still make a dime too.
I think there's a lot more people trying to tell you how it's hard to do whatever
in
the snake business, all this shit. But it's like you just gotta do it for yourself, see what happens.
If you fucking fill it out for 3 or 4 years, you're gonna find your comfort zone.
Like prick, if you're making it, then I can too. You fucking dickhead. Get the fuck out of here. For sure. You think you're better than me.
Oh, in 2000.
Think you're better than me.
Well, that was very New York.
Better than me.
Let's just bring up the New York and
in 2008 to 2010, people used to always no. Well, you're making a living at it. I'm doing the same thing. Yeah. What the hell's the difference? I put the time in, and I think that's the real key. If you're buying snakes right now, thinking about I'm gonna breed next year and I'm gonna make all this money, you're fucking
just wrong. Fucking commit to it, whatever happens.
Commit to whatever it is.
Year after.
3, 4, 5 years. You need to be buying these animals because you enjoy these animals, you enjoy being around them, you enjoy doing right by them, and that will develop into what you want it to. If you're just buying them because they're dollar signs and they're numbers, you're trying to chase some dream, you're never going to be fucking.
Because what you realize is that 5 years down down the line, you're like, if I
The
just
dream
kept that
changes.
animal,
Oh yeah.
then like maybe I would have been better off. But I fucking went for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and then
Yep.
you don't have that at your disposal.
You know, I've sold some stuff when I was down and out that I shouldn't have. You know, there's like 4 animals right now. That's how crazy it is. Like 7 years, there's like 4 animals I let go of that I could really like sit back, and I lose sleep over them today. Like I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have sold that granite to that asshole. You know, like because like I see that snake today. I follow these animals. I know exactly where they are right now. Like would they ever?
You're
come
doing
back
the same stupid snake math.
Exactly.
Gets everyone in trouble, and you're like,
oh man, I should have kept that kind of animal.
thing.
Fucking yeah, you'll always regret that stuff. And if you don't, then you're in the wrong hobby. That's all there is to it, man. If those animals don't mean anything to you other than just money, like you're just in the wrong hobby.
So this may be like too intense to ask, but what's your worst moment as where you're like, maybe I'm gonna give up? Because there's always a moment where you're like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna sell all my stuff.
Good Lord.
Is there a moment where you had that?
That's a tough question, sir. I will say I've been through more than your average person in my lifetime. It's been not an easy road. I get on here and I talk about being successful or whatever the hell. The last 4 years have been fucking tough. I lived in a camper trailer. I lived in a fucking tool shed with all my fucking animals behind some dude's house. Like, I've had it bad the last couple of years before I finally got to where I needed to be to where I could fucking really do this business right. But I never gave up on it. I let myself go without a lot of times and a lot of years where I didn't let my animals go out, you know. And last year, I got ripped off by this dude. He fucking stole like $2,000 from me. I was paying rent on my shop, and the guy didn't even own the property. He was renting the property. He was packed up and left on me. So, like, I'm left, like, homeless. I'm fucking in the dead part of my season where I don't even have fucking babies for fucking sale, dude. I got nothing to my name. I thought I was good for, like, 6 months on my bills. You know, there was a moment, man, where, like, fuck, I loaded a shotgun, walked out in the field, and thought about just ending it all, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I've had some tough times.
I think that's what you always see at the end of the road. Like, this is where this person is.
For
that's
sure.
not always how it is. Like, I had a point where all my ball pythons, I really ramped up my collection in maybe like 6 months or so. So I all had them in the same rack.
Sure.
And just I had what people in the ball python industry would call the snake AIDS.
Right.
And, you know, all my snakes died and I couldn't do anything about it. I was like, do I quit here? Or do I double down on some shit that I'm really fucking happy about? And I think everyone reaches that point.
Absolutely.
It's just important to commit to the shit, like we've been saying the whole time.
Absolutely.
Keep on going.
Dude, there were a million times I could have sold out. I got $300,000 worth of fucking steaks in my house, dude. I'm fucking eating ramen noodles and macaroni some days just to fucking keep this goddamn dream alive. I could be doing okay. I could have fucking money, or I could keep my fucking dream alive and keep my dream rolling, you know? Fucking, you gotta
It's true that it's your dream. I remember talking to you. You just bought a new place, and you're like, I was talking about what got set up first. The snake room.
Oh, like, yeah, my bathroom's still not done. The snakes
before, like, your livelihood, it was the snakes came first.
And it always has.
That shows you that, like,
for sure.
Yeah.
And that's how it's gotta be, man.
It really does.
But why?
This is the
why does it have to be so like? Why?
Because the market will fucking chew you up and spit you out of your piece of shit. You gotta care about your animals.
Will it ever be not that? Because you think, okay, like dog breeders,
hopefully
like,
it's always like
but like dog breeders isn't like that. You know, dog breeders like I can make some but there's others who can make sales at Walmart on the side of the wall in the sidewalk. And they just bred them cut, like
for
because.
Sure. And you know, S&S Exotics and all these little flippers out there are doing just fine. You know, they're flipping stuff out there, and they make those low end fucking wholesale sales and buy people out, and they sell shit for dirt. And there's all sorts of people out there.
So that exists right now in the same.
Oh yeah, it exists, and they do just
every
fine.
Market, you know, you're talking about RETICS in general.
But if you come by my booth and you walk by those fucking flippers booths, it's obvious.
It's different.
Like I can tell you everything about this animal. You come and talk to me, you're just going to get an entirely different feel. Whereas you're going to go talk to those other people, and they're going to be like on their phone, you know, they're sitting down in a chair.
They're like, I guess feed it a rat.
Right. They don't fucking know. They're flippers, dude. You know, and there's a lot of that out there. And there is a difference, too. Like, there's even room for flipping.
There's very responsible
flipping. There's responsible people who take in animals and they fucking get them looking
right. If you're talking about like Dan Malaria at DM Exotics, he's bringing in white lead scrubs, all the shit that he's also trying to breed.
Yep.
But he's flipping them technically, but like he actually knows.
There's a way to do that right, man. And then there's the people that are like, oh, I bought this in a deli cup. I set it on my table. It didn't sell. It's going to stay in this deli cup till my next show.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
There's those people that I heard them telling others that, you know, the blue tongue skink is strictly vegetarian.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're giving out wrong information. If you're that person, then I think you're going to get weeded out. But anyway, but go fuck yourself.
Right. Oh, for sure, dude. And there's plenty of those people out there, man. It's sad. You know, I think it should be a little bit on the show promoters who they let in their fucking events. I know there's a lot of show promoters that claim, you know, they're better than all these other shows or whatever, but they got the same wholesale.
We've talked about that as far as like, should there be some more like should you
start a show where you
or it's only the good
breeders, actual people who produce,
but either captive bred or really ethical flippers, because I still believe in bringing stuff from Indonesia.
There's a place for it.
There's rare animals, but I want people to know what they're selling.
Yep.
And also, I don't want them to be selling 1,000 green trees and they don't know how to take care of green trees and all that shit. Like, that can be left to someone else. Also, like, is your leopard gecko in a 2.2? You know, it's always in like 10 loops.
For sure.
A lizard should be able to like chill in its enclosure without feeling uncomfortable and being cramped up. I just think there's some standards that.
So Ryan, do you think shows should have more regulations on like who comes in?
I absolutely feel that way. You know, I'm gonna piss some people off because I do all these fucking shows. They're all my buddies.
But if you do them, you have the right to talk about them. You know, like you do a lot. Like you do even the little Lone Star Texas. Like Lone Star is, but you do it. Like
I do.
And so I feel like that gives you the right to talk about it. So go for it.
I kind of feel that way too. And like I said, there's some of these groups that claim that they're better than everybody else and they have the best shows in Texas and what. But if you go around, fucking, I know Pasadena Herps catches all these flack or whatever the hell because there was like one shitty flipper there who had some dead stuff on it. That same shitty flipper is at every other fucking show in Texas. The one show he's not at, it's just because he don't have enough fucking tables to sell him. Like, it's already a sold out event. Like, he would be there too. You know, it's these events. They're into selling tables. They're into selling ticket sales. I don't know how many of them are really into like, let's really make sure that this is quality animals that are in.
They just want to sell tables.
The table sales is definitely a big part of it, for sure. For sure. It's kind of crazy, man.
I think, I mean, I knew some guys who put on a show in Rochester, and you know, there wasn't a show there before. They didn't have many people to pick from, but they personally went out and found those vendors.
They found people they wanted.
Because, like, sometimes when you're putting on a show, you may have to pursue vendors. They don't always pursue you. So maybe you should be a little bit more selective and do more on your end to find good people. And then you have a better show. And you have fucking better vendors, and your show is better, and more people come, and then it gets
100%, man. I couldn't agree with that anymore, man. You know, I think a big thing, these shows, they just get too comfortable and complacent. Like, I sell out my tables, and this amount of people come through the door, and it's a good show every time. But
whatever happens.
Right, exactly, man. And I don't know. You know,
I think everyone should take responsibility for themselves, but at the same time,
for sure,
I know it's hard.
I can tell you how many people came through the door based on my sales to an extent. Yeah, I promote myself and I put myself out there and I have pre-sales or whatever the hell. But if there's 1,500 people through the door, I'm going to sell 5 to 7 snakes. If there's 2,500 people through the door,
1,500, you're only going to sell 5?
Yeah, I mean,
that makes sense. It's a retake.
I don't know how things work, but whoa.
I'm in a niche corner. You know what I mean? And like I say too, I refuse a lot of sales, and you know,
on the spot, you do?
Oh, absolutely.
You'll be just like, no, I can't sell it.
You tell me you're putting this retic in a 20-gallon, I'm going to tell you, not today, sir. You're going to go get somebody else's retic. You're not going to buy from me. You know, I have these animals set up a certain way. They're thriving, and they're doing well. And if you want to have these animals from me, you're going to set them up the same way that I have them, because it's what's doing right by them. It's what's successful for me. You know, if I sell you this animal that's doing right in a, you know, V70 tub or a V18 tub, and you go home, put it in a 20-gallon, it dies tomorrow because it knows at the lid all night long and stressed out. Well, that's not really my fault, you know. And I make sure that people have that information. I make sure that people know what they're getting into. And unfortunately, that does cost me a lot of sales, just being upfront with people, for sure.
But it keeps you a lot of alive snakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeping more problems in the long term, which I always talk about. Like, if someone contacts me, I'm like, well, if they really, like, I don't care if I sell it, because the person who really wants it, like, that's who's going to take care of it.
that I sold that didn't thrive for whatever the hell the reason was, whether it was on the customer or on me or on the snake or whatever the hell it was. That's pretty good numbers, man. Like 2 out of like 250 didn't thrive.
But even people aren't used to talking about that, because like we were talking about before, like I had one that was like died once I gave it to a customer, but it's like honestly, all signs led it was fine, and then questionable things may happen before that, but it's like,
you never know,
and you make it right.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you always got to make right by your customers too, man. Like it's one thing. I always want to check their scenario. I want to make sure that like before I send them another animal, before I set them up for failure again, that like we're gonna nip this in the butt, whatever might have gone wrong. But at the end of the day, too, you got to make right by those customers. They're the ones that keep you in business. They're the ones keeping your dreams alive for sure.
And sometimes it's like maybe that customer doesn't know. It's a learning. We all have learning experiences constantly. And it's like, maybe I should help them now because it may repay me in the future. That's how I feel.
I had a guy today, this year, I'm not going to name him at all because he's a super nice guy. I don't want to be embarrassed or whatever the hell, but he claimed he'd had berms in the past. He had retics in his past, but he's just kind of getting new back into it. He doesn't have any of this stuff now. And when I sold him the stuff, he did exactly what I said not to do. Like, hey, he told me, I've had all this stuff before, so I sold him some animals. He put them straight into 40 gallons. Well, these were little bitty hatchlings that had been living in shoebox-sized tubs. They did not know what the fuck was going on.
It's way too much space.
Way too much space. You can't temper right. Everything was wrong in these environments. And one died like the first night. Well, he hit me up, and he hit me up not like a dick. He hit me up like, hey, man, do you think you know what's going to happen? You know what I mean? He didn't like immediately come like assaulting me or whatever. I got him through it. We sent him another animal. The guy since bought like 3 snakes off of me since then. He's got everything set up right.
So worth it taking the time.
Oh, he's like for like all day that one day. He's sending me pictures of him building his rag.
And he fucking loves you now.
Now we're best friends. He'll never buy a snake from anybody.
I'll buy you a snake. Exactly. I'll buy a snake from you. It doesn't matter what it is. It's from you.
Exactly. And I made sure he got his rack built right, and I made sure his animals are doing right now. And it cost me a $300 snake. I had to send him to replace it or whatever. It was my fault because I didn't ask enough questions up front to begin with. I should have known that's you said you had these animals in the past, but that doesn't always mean that like you had them correctly in the past.
But that shows that shows the level of like integrity that you have as a breeder to know that look, people think they know shit, but they don't. And it's on me as the more knowledgeable one to make sure, to double check they know. And if they don't, to make sure.
That's my job.
And like to know that, okay, I'm up here. I need to share that. Not that I need to keep that secret. And if you don't know, fuck you. You fuck. You know what I mean? Like that shows that you're a better breeder because you want to share that.
Because if that snake goes home and dies, guess what? I get to sell you another one. They're that way, man. Fucking Bob Clark, he'll fucking tell you another one all day and let you keep fucking it up. Like there's some guys out there that'll do that stuff to you.
But I hope that the good guy at the end wins, and I think it does. At the end of the day, maybe if you're not the biggest breeder in the world,
for sure,
you do all right for yourself. People like you. You don't get as much trouble.
And I think having your brain right off the bat like that is where to be too. Like know what you're getting into. This isn't like some get rich quick scheme. You're not winning the lottery making these animals. You're gonna work your fucking ass off harder than you ever worked for anybody else in your life. I promise you.
You learn that quickly.
Really quick.
That's why people get out so
for sure. Anybody, I produced music and sold hip hop for like a number of years. I did nothing but that. I put my whole life into that. That was all I did. If you're gonna be successful in anything, that's what you got to do. You have to fully submerge yourself.
When did this become your 100%? I know a lot of people, even people who've been breeding forever, like they have another job and this is their. When did this become your 100% job?
Total fluke. Not even gonna lie to you. So I started the Reptarium with David Spicer with like the best of intentions. The guy come to me out of nowhere. He said, Plano Pets is trying to sell me Plano Pets for 40 grand. I said, let's go fucking look at this thing. I was going to half Plano Pets with him or some shit, I had cashed out of some other businesses and had a little money and I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, and I'd kind of already just got into the retics a little, but it wasn't like a fucking long-term plan. It was like, I like these animals, they're pretty. You know what I mean? It really wasn't much past that, And we were building our little thing at the Reptarium, and I had my first successful season that first year that the Reptarium was open. I was pumping out animals. I had like a fucking 2,800 people follow me on Facebook out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, people were just blowing me up night and day. I had wait lists for animals that I didn't even fucking make, wasn't going to make till the next year. And it all of a sudden just kind of got crazy. And like my initial plan was to continue helping Dave and them out there at the shop until, you know, things took off further. I just figured I always have a part-time job there or whatever the hell. And then those guys really got to where they were like, we started the place to sell like captive bred stuff from quality people, and they got to where they were buying from Triple L and Outback.
And then the market smacks you in the face and says, you gotta be a little bit cheaper, motherfuckers.
Exactly.
They're very expensive for captive born animals.
So it just got to where, like, man, everything we started that place on, they kind of went around their backs on, man. They ramped their fucking rat prices through the roof on everybody. They neglected a bunch of my animals while I was out of town working with Andy, killed a bunch of my animals while I went there. So we, like, fell out hard going into my second year there. And it was really my third successful breed season that year. And I did okay that year. I mean, I did like $40,000 worth of retics that year or whatever the hell. But when you're putting 18, 20 back into it, right, it's not a wonderful life. And that 20 grand a year is not very much. I pay taxes on that. Fucking, you know what I mean? So, like, I kind of got left in this position where all of a sudden it was like, all right,
shit or get off the box.
Yeah, shit or get out. I gotta either make this thrive or this fucking dream's gonna fucking fall out, man. And I just ran with it, dude. I fucking sold the shit out of everything that year. I paired up more than ever. I joined business partners with Andy Hine. He added a bunch of females to my collection.
Is that Andy King? Is that the same person?
Andy Hine? No.
Wait, I thought it was King.
No.
Nope. Who's the
You
one?
know who he is.
Who's the one who was at your house?
Andy.
It's Hine? Okay.
Yeah, that's Andy Hine.
I remind King Andy Hine.
How did you?
That's
did
myself.
You go 50-50 initially?
Yeah,
or is he
I was
part
interested
of
in that.
doing my own thing for a number of years, and then like out of the blue, he was wholesaling stuff to the Reptarium and doing a bunch of work for the Reptarium too. And they had kind of been pissing him off, like they were pissing me off, and we almost like partnered up, and almost had a like mutual contempt for these people, you know. Like I don't know, he come up to my house one day, and he'll tell you too. Like he came to my house one day, and he seen what I was doing. He was like, "Man, this kid like gives a fuck." You know what
Really
I mean?
care,
I was
yeah.
really into what I was doing. I obviously knew what I was talking about with my genetics. I had stuff going already. I had already produced a world first. You know what I mean? It was my third year in. I'm making world first genetics. I wasn't just like some fly by night.
And I think it's hard to find give a fucks. Like
It's
two give a
really
fucks meet each
hard.
other. You
know each other when you find them for
Yeah.
sure. Andy knows how to make money. He's been successful
Right.
at what he does. I watched him go from selling $10 glass tanks in fucking San Antonio fucking shows to now he's the largest reptiles dry goods dispenser in like the whole South.
And it's like also, even if you give a fuck about just snakes, maybe you're not good at business. So
For
I think
sure.
it's hard sometimes. Those two don't always mesh.
Absolutely.
And like, if you find someone who's good at both
Both,
of those,
right.
that's a fucking home run.
Absolutely. So, we kind of partnered up. I told him, you add all the females you want to my collection. He already had tables fucking because he's buying 10, 12 tables for shows all the time. So I was getting free table space. It was just beneficial to both of us, for sure. Absolutely. And it's developed that way, stuff together. I usually have my own booth or whatever, just because it's got to where I don't have one display case
Just
anymore.
numbers.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Just the space, But definitely, Andy's been a big part of this Ivory Connection thing, and he's definitely helped blow it up to a new level that we wouldn't have achieved at the
Shout out Andy Hine.
Yeah.
Hope you're listening right now.
Southern Reptile Supplies.
Southern Reptile
The biggest dry
One of the first things where it's like, I should probably move to dry goods
Oh,
and rats
man.
or all that shit, because that side is pretty good.
Rats has some money in it, man, but it's all super competitive, man. Andy's successful in that, and real good at it. He just undercut everybody, and he put them all out. And left fucking. I think honestly, not to suck my own dick too hard. I've kind of done that in Texas with the retics. There's not a lot of guys that are going to compete with me as far as quality, as far as price, doing what I like. My genetics are different from everybody else's. Everybody else is trying to wholesale flip Bob Clark's animals down here in Texas still and lie to you. It's really selling you the shit that's what I'm telling you I'm selling you. So like it's carved out a little fucking corner.
I think that's so important in the reptile world. Like you are obviously way farther than Joe and I accessory. But like the more we try to grow and everything, I'm just like, how do we be different? I struggle. It's social media world. I'm like, vlogs. So many people make podcasts. So many people have
this podcast is so much bigger.
But it's so hard for me, at least someone who's very new to the world. I'm like, everyone does this. Like, it's hard for me to be like, how can we be successful? Because there's the people we look up to. Like, almost every day we're watching Dave Kaufman on YouTube. What's the other guy? Bald.
Oh, Dan
Malaria.
Sure.
I'm like, we look up to so many people. I'm like, how do we be different than the big people?
Well,
and it's very hard for someone on the outside to see that. I think someone like y'all sees it more than me. Who's like, my passion is made through him. Like through y'all. Like all of y'all. Like the more y'all talk about things, the more y'all get excited. I get excited.
Sure.
And it's hard to be like, how can I be different?
Because there's 1,000 breeders out there, but maybe 10 of them are going hard like us, like DM Exotics. Like he's selling a lot because he's going hard. There's so many other flippers out there, but he is the top.
But the flippers are making it, I feel like. I don't know.
Yeah, but with the people who are new, but the people that are always here, us, like we know who's legit, we know who's not. So they win at the end of the day because we're willing to spend thousands of dollars and those people are willing to spend hundreds of dollars.
Exactly.
So what matters is being in with.
I think we're trying that. Like thankfully, we're in Texas right now. We can hit up Ivory Connection. We went to Carpet Fest. So what is Eric's like? Well, we went to Eric was there. What's Eric? I don't know his
Eric Burke
that's just Eric Burke. We met Owen from Morelli. What's Python Radio? We met Bill Stiegel. Like thankfully, like we have do that.
But Eric and Owen are from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and they came down here. Right. And it's just like, yeah, it's in the snake world. It's weird because before dating him, before meeting all these people, I'm like, snakes? Like, yeah, I'm not scared of them, but no, like, you know what I mean? Like, who, right. Sure. It was always like, who's a snake? But now that dating him, I'm like, whoa. So many people. And it's like before I'm like, oh, anyone can be big at snakes. Like no one's really into it. And now I'm like, there's so many people. How do you make your mark?
One of the biggest things is like initiate with those people. When you come out to a shows, man, once again, not trying to blow myself too hard here, but if you come to one of my shows where I'm vending, I have chairs behind my booth for other people to sit on, like my helpers and stuff, my people that come out to visit with me. You will never see me sit down at a show. And everybody that walks down my aisle, if you make eye contact with me, how are you doing? You doing okay today? I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I'm going to at least greet you and talk to you. If you walk down like some of those other guys, they've got the phone out, they're in the chair, they're not even looking at you.
Not interested in talking to you.
No, man, that's not how we spread our passion. That's not how we spread our love for these animals, man. If you're not out there showing that you care and that you're happy to care about these animals, you really set yourself out. This is a job. I'm fucking retired. I go fishing 4 days a week. I fucking clean snake. I don't have shit on where I ain't got no kids or wife or none of that fucking bullshit. So like, you know what I mean? This is what I enjoy doing, you know? Like if it becomes a job and you're like working and you're fucking stressed all the time, think about it. Then you gotta fucking think about it, you know. And I do want to throw that out there. Freedom is, I'm single. I made some smart decisions early in life.
You gotta feed a family.
Difficult. You got 3 kids at the house, man. You know, 100%. If you can't be like selfish and all about it, I'm very successful at this right off the bat, man. It's kind of one of the, you really got to stack women that are like cool with like, you're at the damn snake room 10 hours.
Off the bat, or else it's bringing you down. You gotta have
absolutely
someone who's in it, or someone who's down.
Either I don't ask you about your shoes in your closet, you don't ask me about my snake room, or each other. One or the other. For sure. But I think that's a key, man. I see a lot of people they got kids, they got all this other stuff. And a lot of ones, I don't have anything else going on. I put my entire life into this, like all of it. Like it's what's got me to where I am, man.
And there are some really like hobby people who are still very
successful. Oh yeah, you could do this at a hobbyist level and still be highly successful.
Make good money.
Yep, for sure. I'm
but
sure
I mean,
some
that's
of those
just,
guys.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. You're working 60 hours a week, and then you're coming home, and you're working 40 hours a week in your snake shop, and then you're manning fucking online sales, and you're working shows on the weekends. I don't know where you put kids and stuff.
Yeah, the only people I know who are successful at it work consistently.
It's their whole job.
It's no easy thing. It's no, passive income.
Absolutely.
You always have to do shit.
And that's a lot of the reason why I'm getting these rats kind of going too right now. It's like, even like I'm successful, I do well, I make my bills every month or whatever the hell, but it's something about having that stress off your mind and knowing like, fuck, I could do like $2,000 fucking worth of rat sales every month.
But also, how much more work are you doing? Hours and hours. Like
for sure. Absolutely.
20 more hours a week.
Absolutely. Easily.
Does the smell bother you? I've never been around rats, but he told me the smell.
Dead to the world. I was a vet tech for 10 years. I've had my finger up more dogs' asses than anybody should ever.
Dude, I start crying.
Yeah. Like that's why we're never gonna breed rats, because it just kills us.
Some people like that, and I know most people even too that do it long enough will eventually get contact allergies to it.
Really?
Sure. That's true. Just like anyone with venomous snakes, maybe.
You get that contact allergy just from the ammonia. You get exposed to that much ammonia, eventually it's going to get to you. It's not great.
Well, I hope it doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, I've got exhaust fans and stuff. It's in like
he's not living. He's living like 30 more years.
Yeah, for sure, exactly.
Rats don't kill you.
You're right. I'll be all right. We'll be good. No, and I do. I'm going to have Evan out there helping me, and I'm sure I'll have some other helpers out there helping me too. I'm not just going to be slaving in a rat shop all day. But it is kind of unique, though, that like that'll be consistent business. I don't have to worry so much about sales. My snakes sell themselves. They just don't always sell themselves the day that I want them to sell.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're all going to go. It's just
even if you pump, 10 rats into them, maybe that's $50. But
it's
still
not a big deal.
You still did all right.
And the animals that I'm working with too, like the bigger they get, the more expensive the value goes up. It's not like a ball python where like, everybody made a whole bunch of them, now it's not worth anything. No, that fucking male that's now breeder ready is worth fucking $500 to $1,000 more than he originally was because he's ready to breed. Females, you got a female with 2 years on her. Normal, she's worth like $700, $800.
It's just gonna happen,
because she's got the age, she's getting near sexual maturity. Somebody put some time and some work into that animal.
They can breed their own.
For sure.
Okay, so Evan says, little update, he's going to have to watch this podcast later because he's waiting in the ER right now.
What the hell?
I'm not really sure why he's still on Facebook. But that shows you Evan's priorities right now. But like, he really wanted to let us know why he wasn't watching because he's sitting in the ER.
Did a gar eat you? What happened?
I don't know. Like, I thought he was just fishing for like chill fish. I didn't know he was like doing.
Oh no, he's after like 7-foot gars.
Okay, so I'm assuming I'm not quite sure, but clearly, like hands, we are high in Evan's priorities.
There's always so many things. That's true.
I can see him tailing a copperhead.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Texas Contrast, which is Mark, right?
Yes.
Yes, Mark. Also, we'd love to have you on the show, BT Duds. Mark said you should have a retic fest.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on that?
Not too many.
I'm kind of working on something.
Wow.
Right it's not exactly RETIC Fest, but it's a customer appreciation day I'm working on. It's probably going to be at the end of October, early November, waiting for it to kind of cool down and stuff. I've got a big, like 50 acres with ponds and stuff on it that I take people out on all the time. We go fishing and camping and things. I'm going to have a customer appreciation day where all my customers, anybody that's ever bought anything from me, can come out. We're going to camp out on my property.
Well, we haven't bought anything from you. We haven't bought anything. We haven't bought anything from you, but
so what that means is anyone who's listening, buy a fucking retail.
That's right.
Party with
you come party out, man. We'll get drunk as shit, catch some catfish. I got 10-pound bass out there at the pond. It's gonna be a real good weekend, man. I'll probably have people camping around the house too. Out there at the pond.
And talk about all the other shit that you can see at your place. I mean, you have fucking
caimans, panther chameleons, huge wazoo.
So what kind of caimans do you have?
I've got I've got the Covieres, and then I've got a whole bunch of diamonds. So the diamonds or cross hybrids. They don't. Mitch Diamond produced those giant, probably 7 years old or something. Younger juveniles as well. And they pretty much make sure nothing ever goes to waste. Like they clean up anything.
And if anyone ever breaks in, they'll be like,
"Oh yeah, for sure." You know,
if they don't see the retics, they'll see a fucking Cayman right when they come in.
It's like, funny, man. You know, I just recently moved out to the country, but most of my life I lived in North Dallas and like the fucking barrio, man. I was in the hood over here in North Dallas, man, and like. About once a month, I would get a nice big snake out, and I'd take it out front on my little banister rail at my house or whatever the hell, and I'd let everybody know, like, this is what lives here. Nobody ever broke into my home ever. You know what I mean? For sure, man. I've never worried about people coming in and stealing those snakes, because most of those snakes, while I get them out, they're handleable and tolerable or whatever. It's tap training. It's knowing their routine. You're not just going to come fling those doors open and pull out one of those snakes, man.
And the one thing I noticed is like, this is a fucking animal. Like I look at my snakes, like you're a little snake.
Yeah.
I possess it. I'll do what I want. That
sure.
snake, I'm like, you may fucking fuck me up.
It does whatever it wants. You need to be on its turf and on its terms.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, most of the big girls, I pretty much, you know, it's stupid. Everybody always asks, you know, like, what's your limit before you have a helper? Well, it used to be like I had like an 8-foot limit. You know, over 8 foot, I have a helper over before I open the doors or whatever. And then it was like a 12-foot limit. Oh yeah. Now, like, I get my biggest fucking girls out all the time and let them cruise the room while I'm in there.
But you know your animals.
I know my animals, and I don't do that with all of them. There are some that have their own rules that, like, they don't ever get out in public around people. We have our own one-on-one time. You have to know the animals, man. And that's a great point you fucking bring up, man. I say that all the time. Like, you know, observation is 99.9% of what we do here, man. And knowing your individual animals, man, that's what's going to keep you from getting bit. That's what's going to keep you in the know on knowing when they're ready. Each one of those animals is an individual in the retic world, especially. You know, maybe not so much in like the ball pythons, some of these other snakes that kind of like have similarities where they're kind of almost always the same.
And it's tapped down a little bit.
Right, exactly. These retics, they're literally observing you every bit as much as you're observing them. And I've never experienced that with anything other than like cobras and fucking, you know, some various hots. It's key to get a strict routine with them down that they can pick up, because that's what you want. If you're willy-nilly about your stuff, they're going to be crazy, man. And for sure.
Yeah. And I think any smart snake is defensive. Like my olive python,
Absolutely.
it looks at me and it's like, I know you're not like on my team completely, but I'll be chill once we get out.
You're right.
Yeah,
and knowing the difference in aggressive and defensive is a big thing too, man. Being able to read that body language and know, like, all right, you don't really want to eat me, but if it's a last ditch effort, you will.
Yeah, you know, die before you fucking bite me in the throat. Like,
right, exactly.
You're an animal at the end of the day.
Exactly, man. And, you know, you get around these guys that have, like, I watched you today, even with a corn snake or whatever. You can tell they've been handling animals for a long time. They can take an animal that's defensive, and they can still move slow around it. They can still scoop it from underneath. They can
I'm
still
like a total pussy.
You know, it is what it is. But at the same time, those animals didn't act out where they probably would have acted out if you just went and shot right in and grabbed.
Yeah, if that water python would have bitten anyone else in the fucking eyeball.
For sure, because you know how to coach it and how to work around that animal. And it's no different. If you observe those animals right, they're going to tell you everything you need to know, man. That's really the key. To me, that's the biggest key to this whole hobby.
And I think that's also a good thing about, you know, I get some people who say, you know, I want to buy adults right out of the rip. But the thing is, like, you get all those learning experiences on babies. So it's like, fuck, man, I'd much rather a 3-foot retic be fucking with me like that than a 12-foot retic.
So backtrack here to like 2008, 2009. I used to swear I never want a retic. Retics are the devil. They eat people. I don't want nothing.
Man.
Oh, yeah, I used to always think that, man. I don't want nothing to do with these things, man. I've been begging Bob Clark for a fucking green berm. I've been begging him. He had these wonderful green berms in like 2007, and he never had them again. And I just kept showing up at show after show, and he's like, yeah, I'll have one next show for you. He was just looking for one to like pick up to make a sale off of me, you know. And finally one show I was like, man, I want this green berm. Like, where are these green berms? And he's like, I don't have one, but here's this tiger retic. Tigers were still expensive. Tigers.
You were young and impressionable.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was like $1,000 snake. He's trying to sell me for like $400. You know. Yeah, for sure. You know, and it was decent at the show. You know, he was being all right. He's like, yeah, I've been having them around kids and stuff. We've done demonstrations with other people.
Rock on this motherfucker.
Oh yeah, for He's like, yeah, they're just like a bird. Let's go home. I get him home, man. I will say Debo, because he was the biggest fucking asshole I ever met in my fucking life. Debo wanted to know what you had on his rats. Fucking Debo taught me more about snakes and retics and in general. Debo actually wound up getting sold. Large male that I had, like I say, when I bought him from Bob, he was already like 6'7" foot. So I was like, yeah, he must be chill. I went home, I threw him in a cage. He was the devil. Okay. It's like I say, me and Debo, we went round and round for years together. I finally got to where we were okay, man. And one of my first really good customers was dying for him. Like when I finally got into retics, and I bred real good that first season. I had a customer that he bought a tiger off of me, and he was just dying for fucking Debo. He's always begging me for him. I was like, dude, secretly, I hate this motherfucker. Yeah, you know, he was. So I told him, and I warned him. I was like, man, you know, he's kind of an asshole. He's been around forever, but like, you know, he's not a very good snake as far as like, you know, speaking up for retics. You know, it's all about it. He still has Debo. I keep up with him all the time. I still get pictures of Debo fucking all sorts of shit.
Yeah, most of them hanging off of his hand.
Sure, but I made sure he went to a good home. The guy, you know, and I will say though that buying that initial animal up front and getting to know him with no expectations to ever breed these animals or a career out of this for fucking sure, fucking I got to know that animal, really let me know everything that I know about these animals today that I'm still working with. You know, if I hadn't spent that time with him those first 4 years, I would
feel so like, I don't know, because that are able to buy adults right off the bat. I'm like, you don't know what you're missing as far as just raising them up and
absolutely.
And dealing with them being bitches as babies. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but all of us raise like a couple babies, but now you have 20 babies, and they're all pieces of shit.
Oh,
like it's my first time being with babies. I'm like, you are.
Core snake, baby core snake.
We thought like you know, but not egg.
Absolutely.
They are demons.
Yep.
Like absolutely. No matter what you do, they're gonna pose and try to bite you.
And I totally concur with across the board. Whatever species you're wanting to get into, buy some hatchlings first. You know, get used to those hatchlings. If you're looking to breed these things, get used to those babies.
You didn't know what that's like.
That's the stress for sure.
And I mean, I don't know if you watched the corn snake with us. It was me. He was gone with the military.
Yeah.
I had to deal with it.
Sure.
I have never dealt with that.
Right.
It was, and he's commented, the whole fucking world has commented about how shitty I did with it.
But just like he said, like it's like 10,000 hours of watching his animals. Yes. I can't throw you into the fire and expect you to know this shit.
But that's what happened.
Know more.
I do agree. Like experience means a lot.
But you
the
need
fact
experience,
that it, like,
for sure.
The fact that I went through it, the next time we have babies, I will know more and I will be different. But
for
like,
sure.
Imagine the way I felt with corn snake babies, dealing with retic babies. I'm like, no.
That's
like
a full-grown corn snake.
Like that's not even gonna happen. The retic babies. Despite the fact that it didn't hurt, it was so much of a mental thing that I'm like, after I got bit, I'm like, I fucking hate you. I'm like,
I'll say
this isn't gonna fucking happen. Like, this, I'm gonna let you fucking die here. Like, I'm to the point where, like, if you die, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay with the guilt of having you die. I'm okay with Joe's anger of him letting you die. Like, it got to the point where, you know, I don't care.
You know, and I will say, imprinting on them young is a big thing, I think, with these retics, too. You know, when babies hatch out, they all go in like a 34-quart tub together. All together, waiting for them to get their first shed. Put my hand in that tub. They all bite me. They all piss everywhere. They all open.
It's interesting to keep them together.
You know, they got to all be together, honestly, to really get what I'm after.
Is that only retics?
I always did that with pythons in general.
I think it works well with other snakes, too.
Corn snakes, I've done
corn
snakes,
or at least you told me, separate them immediately or they'll eat each other.
Oh,
is that not the fear?
That is a possibility with colubrids. Not really so much with your pythons, for sure.
Okay.
But day 3, I come in, I put my hand in, and there's like 1 or 2 turds still. Day 5, I put my hand in, and like one's like, fuck you still. But after 7 days, every day I come in and put my hand in this tub,
they don't even care I'm there.
Really?
You're like, it's the monkey that brings the water. It's here to water us. We're over this. You know what I mean? And I think that's, once again, that's a routine. It's the same every day. I come in at the same time for the same like 4 minutes. I put my hand in the tub. You know what I mean? And it's building a repertoire with them, and it's getting them in that.
And I did
routine.
notice that, like, I picked up like the burn that you had.
Oh,
and
yeah.
some of the retakes, and they're all very chill. And you would, at the show, you were giving retakes to little kids.
Yep.
And I was like, holy fuck. But then again, all your retakes were fucking chill as a motherfucker.
You know, I would never hand something to somebody that I thought was gonna like put a bad impersonation on them, you know, that was gonna like make them like, you know, not like my species. All I want to do is make people appreciate these animals that I work with. It's really all I'm after, you know. And so like I don't know, man. I see it a lot of shows. Most people, you know, they got retics. They're not busting it out. They'll tell you stupid stuff like, you know, oh, yeah, you want to hold that. Like, you get it out, you put it back in the tub. Like, I've been told that as a consumer, you know what I mean? And I think,
like, I guess I don't really like these retics.
Yeah,
things.
you know.
They're not that cool.
I've spent the time. I've put it in with these animals, man. I'm not going to bust anything out for anybody that's going to hurt them, you know. And I think people getting to see at these shows that, A male retic doesn't have to be fucking a huge animal. He can live his whole life in 4-foot enclosure is a big thing. And that B, these animals aren't just known man-eaters like right out the egg like they used to be, you know. 10, 15 years ago, with everybody, they were awful, dude. They were no fun. Hell yeah. They were no fun to work with, man. Hell yeah. Nowadays, it's just totally different, man. If you put the time in, you put the strict routine in, you're gonna have horrible. I've got a kid, right? A 12-year-old kid, fucking, I don't know what grade that is. Second, third.
That's what. Yeah, she'll say like a kid. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is that, like 8th grade? I don't fucking
For
know.
sure, I got no. I don't know what that
concept
is.
of that.
But he's a younger kid, and his dad was all about the retics, and he was all about the retics. And their first snake they fucking ever got for me was a fucking lavender fucking retic named Rico, who's a fucking delight now. They take him to Petco all the time. He's like that 7-8 foot size where he's nice and fun. They've had him for like 3 years. He does great, and that's like really all they ever really had. They jumped right in. Their first fucking snake damn
And that's like all you need. I feel like because people ask me all the time, what's the best beginner snake? I'm like, the one that you researched.
The one that you've researched and the one that you're passionate about and into, man.
Exactly. You would keep a green tree as your first pet if you really fucking
if you give a fuck about it, absolutely, man. And I see that all the time. What's the best beginner snake? It's always core snake or ball python. Like, that probably isn't the best beginner snake. Most of the people I know that are really good with those animals are like 40-year-old dudes that have been doing it forever. You know what I mean?
I'm the only dude in Colubris who's under 50.
He's under 50, right?
I did not know that. That's
for sure, man.
Awesome. That's our niche.
Yeah.
That's our niche. We're under 50.
We're just waiting for the other guys to die, and then we'll be all right.
Yeah, we're under 50. Awesome.
Hell yeah. But no, man, I think that's the key, man. You like you say, find your niche too, fucking, but you know, work on stuff that you're passionate about, man. Fucking don't let other people determine like your market, what you need to be getting into. Like, work on stuff that you care about. And the best first snake is 100% what you said. It's the one that you give a fuck about. It's the one that you're passionate about. The one that you did the
research. And what's shitty is if people are listening to this podcast, obviously they give a shit. So they're those people who give a shit.
Absolutely.
So even if you wanted retakes as the first thing you hear, then you already give more shits than most people.
Yep, absolutely. I've sold retics to people as their first pets, but it was
Really?
a lot of questions involved, and it was a lot of making sure that was really what. And there were some people that was like it worked for them, and that's all they've ever owned is a retic. I've got many customers that they bought a retic, was their first snake they ever owned. Now they have a dozen of them, and that's all they'll ever own. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, it's this crazy pet, you know. Like, yes, females, you're gonna need some help. Eventually need somebody's going to have to be there, but you can have a male retic live in a 4-foot cage his whole life, live at 7 to 8 foot long. Most of them before they're even 9 foot, 15 pounds. They're eating colossal rats once a week. Carpet pythons fucking get bigger than that, dude.
That's what I hear all the time. People are like, you need these big cages for these carpets. These carpets get 8 to 10 feet. And the way I feed them, they get maybe 6 to 8. And V70s, for the most part, have been good for me, especially for a male. A male is honestly as big as my corn snake.
For
It just
sure.
has a big fucking head.
But I mean, I've seen 15-foot coastals.
Yeah,
You
can make them,
know, for sure. But
that's
it's not.
me. It's not up to me to make those.
For sure.
I'd wait an extra year for that thing to produce.
It's 100% like I talk about the retics. You can make them big, but like, what do you want? You want a big snake, or you want a snake that's going to live its full life expectancy?
Right.
Because that's really what it boils down to, man. Are you trying to trim 8 to 10 years off this animal's life? You know?
Yeah. And I don't think people see it through that far.
No, nobody. It's big. I like feeding it guinea pigs. Like, you know, that's all
they
as
just
far
wanna
as they
see it
think.
eat bigger and bigger things.
Yeah, for sure.
Once you get into that.
My biggest fucking snakes in the house, my fucking near 200-pound, 18, 19-foot females, you know, they're huge. 4-pound rabbits every 7 to 10 days.
And what is that, like a small bump in there?
You don't even notice it's there.
Yeah.
No lump at all. For sure. They don't have to eat antelope.
And I mean, you can feed them very big prey and
Absolutely.
they'll digest it just fine.
But that snake, if it ate a fucking gazelle in the wild, it's going to live off that for a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's totally different ball game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And those snakes in the wild, they're not breeding every year. They're not constantly fucking doing it. They're like
they're
so much thinner, so much more muscular build. They're lean. You know, they're on the go 24/7. They're actively hunting. Retics are one of the few pythons that like doesn't just sit around an ambush, but they will go chase something through a treetop. You know what I mean?
Unlike in domestic situations, it's life or death. I'm gonna
Right.
eat or I'm gonna die.
Or I expended all this energy for nothing. Exactly.
And then even during the feeding season, you're going to see them move around more and try to get more and more prey.
For sure. For sure, man. For sure. Roaming is a big thing, right? Well, you know that girl's trying to bulk up when you start seeing her roam all the time, man. When she's just roaming that cage all the time.
Wow, that bitch is hunting.
She's hunting. Exactly.
Sorry. Someone on YouTube asked, what do you think is the best carpet python to own?
One that you give a fuck
That's
about.
it. That's across the board.
But really, just a small one. I think jungles are really easy to keep. That's just my experience. But anyway,
I mean, at least me from the outside, I don't feel like your jungles are any harder to keep than your diamonds.
Well, but the thing is that I'm thinking more of like, if it was a full diamond, that's a diamond jungle. So
Okay.
I'll keep it more like a jungle than a diamond. But
Okay.
the fact is, if you have a coastal, you may need 6-foot cages, and you may not give a fuck that much, or 4-foot cages.
Okay.
You can keep jungles. I believe in V70s if you feed them the way I feed them. But yeah, I mean, it all depends on what you care about, for sure. IJs are smaller, but then again, I believe they're a little bit harder than keeping my jungles from.
Right. And Ryan, he said, how big is an aquarium for a retail?
No aquariums. No aquariums. Man, that
This
glass.
ain't no fish.
Yeah, I always call it the glass box of death, man. You know, you could make an aquarium decent if it's front opening at least. You know, you can't have that top lid. They're so food aggressive, man, that anything you do that's food oriented, they're gonna pick up on immediately. Well, the fucking top lid has to raise every time you're gonna feed this thing. So every time that top lid raises, guess what? We're looking for food. It's much more easy sense coming straight on front on in a front sliding door environment. When it's coming down on top, now you're two things. You're either food or you're prey. Either way, you're getting fucking bit.
Either way.
You know what I mean? You never want to be coming down on these animals. Retics specifically as well, they make eye contact with you, and they do not like you to stare them down in the eyes. Your eyes are about 2 degrees different than the rest of your body. They're much warmer than the rest of your face. They can tell when you're making eye contact with them. And an ornery retic, one that's already wound up and already not feeling very secure about itself, if you're staring it in the eyes, it's going to start lashing out at you. It's going to start acting funny. It's going
I'm
to
starting to love retics.
Oh, yeah. For sure,
Fucking
man.
monsters. Let's go.
They're fucking sharp, man. They're watching you just like you're watching them, man. And I think that's the key. So it makes it hard to keep them in these glass boxes. You're making a cave. You need fucking all the sides to be blacked out with a front door that they can see everything coming in. They can really go, all right, this isn't prey. This is, this guy.
Because the reflex had to be so quick to get
exactly to snag a bird out of the air like that.
Fuck your hand, dude.
Exactly, man. So when I'm in these front enclosures too, I'm so far as handle right side feed. Anything you can do different to make a routine that's strict, they're gonna pick it up. It gets to where when I open the left door now, none of my retics move. When I open the right door, they're fucking
They're
flying
ready
out
to
the
go.
door.
They train
Right.
them enough.
Exactly. And tap training is a must. If you're not, when that door opens, tapping that animal, let them know you're coming, or offering food immediately, you're doing it wrong. And I try to say, there's a lot of ways to do things fucking right. That tap training with retics, it's a must. You're not going to feed this thing in a separate environment and then put it's all wound up. It's just not happening, man.
That's silly shit.
16-foot retic. Yeah, I don't care what you fed it. When you go to put it back in its cage where it lives, it's going to try to eat you as well.
For whatever reason, the hungriest python is the one that just ate.
It's the one that just ate.
And the olives
100%.
ready to go immediately. They just
Yep.
want another
For
rat,
3
another
full
rat.
days on your retics. I don't touch anybody after they ate for 3 days, man.
Because
For
you're ready
sure.
to go. So
They're
they're
just
like,
in
I got
that
one
mode.
thing. I'm
For
ready.
whatever reason.
Exactly. Good luck
Jeez.
getting that big girl in that feed mode back in her environment, dude. It's not fun.
I mean, you can imagine if, especially for those island species, once food comes,
oh, yeah.
food might come for the season and then totally
That's it.
turn off.
Right.
Migratory birds or something like that. So
Absolutely,
it's like
dude.
they got to be on when they're on.
Absolutely.
So
Otherwise,
ready
you're not
to
going to
go.
survive. Absolutely, man. And then I will say you're not going to find another snake with a more intense feed sense than the retic. They're it, man.
because they got the eyesight and the smell. And the
They've
heat
got it
sensor,
all,
they got
dude.
it all.
I mean, I'm thawing out food on my front porch that's like fucking 800 feet away from these guys, and they know it's there.
Damn.
They're already at the door looking for it. They're into with what they do. Absolutely. And if I'm not tagged, you bit every time. Like,
You have
but
to let them know. Like,
you have to
I'm
let
coming
them
feed
know
you, like,
this
come
is
down.
not food today. Absolutely.
Speaking of food, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
This is unfortunately usually how we always end up
Oh yeah.
ending
Always
this
it's like,
podcast.
let's see.
It's
And
munchie
it's
time.
like-
The end of the video.
One
Hell
of us
yeah.
is like, okay, I'm hungry. Like, certain time.
This has been
I mean,
by far our most informative.
Hell
But
yeah.
we're over 2 hours, so I feel like
Excellent.
hey,
Yeah,
saying
dude,
I'm
that's
hungry.
crazy.
Dude, it goes so fucking quick.
Yeah, I feel like
like,
I've been here 30 minutes.
because I saw the Instagram go 1 hour, and I was like, that's been 1 hour. I feel like we're just getting started.
Well,
There's so
now
much
we're
stuff
on
to
I
talk
can
two
about.
definitely talk a
hours.
whole lot more
We'll
research.
definitely have to have you on again,
Yes,
dude.
dude.
Yes, definitely. I'm just hungry. I don't mind being.
Hell yeah.
the
And all y'all want me
buzzkill.
to answer all my stories of success in like a paragraph.
So,
like, we have
message Tom Regan.
Yeah, go message Tom Regan. Exactly. Fuck, we didn't even touch like the top of the glacier here today, and we filled 2 hours.
But really, give out your.
Yeah, the Ivory
Connection.
Connection. Hit me up, the Ivory Connection on Facebook. I'm working on a website again right now. It's kind of in works. Don't hit up any of the Ryan Sullivan Facebook pages. Bunch of fucking assholes got me locked out all my shit. Ivory Bond King is actually me, but just hit up the Facebook page. Like, I'm always on there. The Ivory Connection, man. You hit up that Facebook page. I'll be within an hour.
And
I'll
on
get back with
Instagram, because we're plugging that shit.
Oh,
Whether
yeah.
or not you check
Have you
it.
noticed the
think I
gain in your followers, Ryan?
I don't even watch it
We
at all.
tagged you, and I would like to let you know you
Yep.
had a gain in your
I
followers.
got some serious
tracked
gain in my
it.
We
Instagram.
wanted to do it
Attractive.
just to be like,
Yeah.
we have some clout, you know.
All these people beg me like, "Oh, you gotta get Instagram. You gotta get Instagram." And then I got one. I was like,
You already
"This is-
take the pictures, man.
Yeah.
You already sell them. You might as well just post them up.
It's the same as Facebook, though. Like, what's the
But it's
difference?"
it's different people.
I
it's
guess.
different people.
I don't know. I'll put somebody in charge of it.
Evan,
Evan,
you gotta
Evan,
go to the
Evan.
hospital.
Yeah,
Evan, when you get done with your guard bite, you're gonna have to go on the Ivory Connection Instagram. Hell yeah, I like that.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, thank you so much for
Hey,
coming.
I appreciate you guys
I
for
think
having
you like
me.
shed a light
Absolutely.
on some stuff that
They even
Both
bought
of us
I'm
good
not
beer.
sober.
Hell yeah.
I would like to not acknowledge my
Hell
level
yeah.
of soberness.
On that Gorilla Glue.
You gave us some more insight on retics and rats, like which we
Because
don't
I'm
know.
not like 100% like go for retakes.
And we
But
know
I'll
win you
0%
over.
about rats.
I'll
so
win you. You've
I
got an
don't
olive
love
python.
that.
You're gonna
You
have.
You have
a
to get
retic.
through me.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
I'll win you guys.
It's not
You
over.
love
happening.
this white
I do love whitelets. I love whitelets.
You're halfway
Oh, I
there
love
then.
whitelets.
That
I
is-
love
A
white
whitelets.
lip
I
is
love
like this
whitelets.
close to
Which
a
is
Tabor,
like-
and a Tabor was called a retic for like 50 years.
I love
So like
whitelets.
you're almost
Just
there.
whitelets, just whitelets.
I love white lips
Okay.
too.
Thank you,
Northerns and
Ryan.
Southern.
Maybe next week we'll have another special guest. Who knows? This has been going well the past couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
We really like to play a little secretary and answer the questions, so I like it.
Hell
You
yeah.
know, you get to know your position.
Absolutely.
You know?
bitch. Please.
Hell yeah.
Let's end it.
Secretarial work. They Port City Python, Facebook, YouTube, wherever. Listening. We will see you next week.
Wes said so, Joe, when he didn't get a
And
retake.
Wes, I'm not getting a retake.
He's not getting a retake.
He's getting
But
a retake.
Wes will probably get a retake. There you go. So just,
Okay, let's go. Bye.
and Wes, we're gonna go to Lake Charles apparently sometime
In
this year. We
April.
will see you down there.
I'll be at Lake Charles.
When?
Whatever the next Lake Charles Herbst is.
We're just going for a wedding.
Herbst or
But
Reptile are the same.
let's go
Herbst.
together.
Yeah, man.
You know, I'm from Louisiana.
Stop
so
being
that's
weird
that's
about
what
it.
I
Hell
say.
yeah.
So if you ever see a white van with no windows on the side that says free candy, that's us motherfuckers.
Oh my God, what's in this?
No, but really, he has a white van. That's
I do.
You
It
got-
says
Okay.
driver carries no
But
money.
what's in this?
not true.
What's in this?
But
Check
don't
out,
roll up on us.
Hey, check out Port City Pythons on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We have
Longest outro of all time.
Hell
some. Shrek
yeah.
needs his donkey.
Yeah.